Oh, that's terrible. No.
No. Did you give away the goodie bag?
Give away the goodie bag. Oh, it's all done and dusted. Yeah, giving you a free run on. Yeah,
thanks very much. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Rory. See you at the weekend.
We'll talk to you soon, Greg.
All right, bye-bye. It's the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. Time for a news update, and it is Good Morning, Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 teenage boys, both aged 16, have died after getting into difficulty while swimming in Lough Enna in the Temple Road area of Derry. Police received a report shortly after 6:25 yesterday evening of a number of people in difficulty in the water. One of the boys was transferred to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The body of the second was taken from the water and he was declared dead at the scene. A third teenage boy was also taken from the water and hospitalised for non-life-threatening injuries, while 3 other friends who were at the scene were treated for shock. Strathfoyle councillor Rachel Ferguson says the community is shocked and saddened by the tragic news.
The community is waking up today completely shocked and saddened at the news that 2 young boys have lost their lives at Enoch Rock last night. A number of them had gone on their bike. My understanding is that one had become distressed, was trying to swim in the loch. Another one had gone out to his aid and also became distressed, and unfortunately has resulted in the tragedy of losing 2 young 16-year-olds who just were about to return to school after their GCSEs this week.
Agriculture Minister believes the conclusion of public sector pay talks is a welcome step. Union officials described the process as difficult as they left the Workplace Relations Commission early this morning. They will now brief members on a revised offer from the government. Agricultural Minister Charlie McConlogue says it's important there is a proposal on the table after weeks of uncertainty.
We finally have a proposal this morning, and of course the objective of the government here was to combine and recognise the cost of living pressures that are on workers and the need to properly reward our public servants for the very important work that they do, and combine that with balancing our national budget as well as ensuring that there's sufficient funding for investment in services and public infrastructure.
A European Union-wide cap on electricity prices and a major reform of the EU's electricity market is urgently required to address soaring bills, according to Fine Gael's Colin Murphy. The Midlands North West MEP said the current system is not fit for purpose, as currently wholesale electricity prices are linked to the price of gas. That's despite only 21% of EU electricity being produced from gas. Fine Gael MEP said at a time when homeowners and business face astronomical bills, emergency intervention is needed.
The electricity that's generated across the EU, only 20% of it is generated from gas, and over 2/3 of it is generated by renewable energies. But the key thing is that the cost of producing renewable energies hasn't changed. So we need to put a cap in place that reflects the cost of producing 80% of the electricity that's not produced by gas, rather than it being linked to gas, which is only producing 20% of the electricity.
To weather now, today will be mainly dry with a mix of cloud and sunny spells. Light isolated showers are possible, highest temperatures of 20 to 22 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back with a news update again at 10 o'clock, but until then, good morning.
You're all living your best lives now, aren't you?
That's right. Andrea got a new car with heated everything. Greg's finally having his horse-themed wedding. I'm getting the bathroom redone. It's the waterfall rain shower.
This mightn't be your life, but with a loan from OnPost Money, you can live your best life with Ireland's lowest rate on loans over 20k. Apply now at onpost.com/loans. OnPost Money, your money for your world. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. New applications only. Info correct July 14, 2022. Source CCPC for Ireland's lowest rate. OnPost acts as a credit intermediary on behalf of Avantcard DAC. OnPost trading as OnPost Money is authorised as a credit intermediary by the CCPC. Avantcard DAC trading as Avant Money is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning. You're very welcome along to 9 till noon show this Tuesday the 30th of August 2022, 4 minutes past 9. And we're back at base, back in studio today, and thanks to everyone in beautiful Rathmullen who made us feel so very welcome yesterday. It was great to go up and meet so many people up there, and we had a great time, and the weather was great. The weather seems quite nice again today. But anyway, we have another busy show lined up for you here over the next 3 hours. The WhatsApp and text lines are open for you right now. 086 60 25,000. That's 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 074 91 25,000. 074 91 25,000. If you want to email the show, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the programme as well, hop onto our website at highlandradio.com. And also you can go to our YouTube and Facebook channels. YouTube's Highland Radio Ireland, and the Facebook, just search Highland Radio. It's there. Highland Radio News and Sport and Highland Radio. We're on both of them. And you can comment and tell us where you're watching from. And if you're listening on your smart speaker or on your phone or on TuneIn, tell us where you're listening from as well. 086 60 25,000 from outside the Republic. 0035386 60 25,000. The Donegal People's Press focuses on the age of first-time mothers. More than 4 in 10 births in Donegal are outside of marriage or civil partnership, while the average age of women giving birth for the first time continues to get older and older, continuing a trend over the past 20 years. The average age of mothers giving birth for the first time in Donegal now stands at 30.4 years, compared with the average age nationally of 31.7. The overall age of mothers giving birth in Donegal is now 32.4. The majority of births are to women in their 30s, with 149 in the first 3 months of 2022 being to mothers in Donegal aged between 30 and 34, and 108 to mothers between 35 and 39. There were 31 births in the county to women aged 40 or more during the first 3 months of this year, according to the latest vital statistics report released by the Central Statistics Office. No word on men here, what age bracket they're in, but anyway, not from the paper, but in these statistics. Only 7 of the 421 births were to women under 20, while just 37 were in the 20 to 24 age bracket. On to the Derry Journal now, and they focus on that big fish kill in North Donegal. A major fish kill that left over 2,000 salmon and brown trout dead in Glenagannon River has been described as disappointing and upsetting for the entire community. Inland Fisheries Ireland, the state agency responsible for the protection and conservation of freshwater fish and habitats, is investigating the major fish kill incident in Carndonagh after environmental and fishery officers from the Northwestern River Basin District were alerted by a member of the public via its 24-hour confidential hotline number on Friday. And following patrols conducted along the river on Friday and Saturday, IFI confirmed yesterday over 2,250 juvenile brown trout and Atlantic salmon were killed. And there's a picture of them on a sheet of tarpaulin. And very sad to see that, and very damaging for them, of course, but for the river and its future potentially as well. On to the Irish Times now. An EU is preparing energy price intervention, but to what extent remains to be seen. The European Union is preparing an emergency intervention in its energy market to drive down ballooning power prices. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said yesterday the skyrocketing electricity prices are now exposing the limitations of our current electricity market design. It was developed for different circumstances, she said, in Slovenia. That's why we are now working on an emergency intervention and a structural reform of the electricity market. I mean, currently, you'll know in Spain they are capping gas prices as it relates to energy, energy development, or not development, generation. But what is happening is then you have other nations like France and others around that Spain that are saying, all right, okay, we like a bit of that action, let's buy our electricity from Spain, and Spain then could find itself subsidising other European countries' electricity. What I don't know as it relates to us here is we rely on Britain for our gas. Britain is outside the EU. They're not going to be involved in this energy price intervention. So what are the consequences for us if it is sort of a gas related cap? As I say, we buy our gas from Britain. So and I've been reading up the various experts in inverted commas, and no one seems to have pointed that out to any great extent or suggested how it might impact on us, but we shall see. Taoiseach Micheál Martin met Eamon Ryan and Minister for Finance Pascal Donoghue to discuss energy security, price and supply, and how energy prices had grown significantly over the past number of weeks, especially, one source said, there is growing concern in government over the scale of the challenge this winter. They are going to have to do something. Let's see what they're capable of now. The Irish Independent tells us that drivers are facing the threat of diesel going up again. Drivers face paying even more tax on diesel under a proposal from an independent group set up to advise finance Minister Pascal Donoghue. A report sitting on the minister's desk has called for the hikes ahead of another rise in fuel prices, as diesel and petrol are expected to hit €2 per litre again this week. The recommendations from the Commission on Taxation and Welfare also include scrapping the green diesel concession for farmers, a large hike in property tax, increasing PRSI payments by the self-employed, higher excise duty on home heating oil. Now, can you imagine, with a government at this stage, when we are facing into a winter of great discontent, they're hardly actually considering increasing excise duty on home heating oil and diesel. I mean, there might come a time when that's appropriate. Surely it is not now. Now, this is a report sitting on his desk. He can follow the report, I presume, or he can ignore it. But surely at the end of next month, he's not going to increase levies on diesel and home heating oil. This report, anyway, has also told Pascal Donoghue there should be a levy on holiday homes and a congestion charge. Well, you know what? You can have the congestion charge. It's not going to affect us much. The Commission was set up by government to independently consider how best the taxation and welfare systems can support economic activity, employment and prosperity. The list of proposals after a year-long review of tax policy is set to challenge government thinking ahead of the budget. And this is a perfect story for journalism, and I'll tell you why. Because this is a report that's on his desk, right? It's a bit of fear porn here. It doesn't suggest that he's going to follow the recommendations of this report, but he's not going to come out and say that he's not going to, because they do not discuss taxation measures in the round ahead of a budget. So they can print this story. Everyone can be scared and, you know, purchase the paper and have a read through it and be even extra scared. But it doesn't really indicate whether or not the government's going to follow this direction. And really, the government would be breaking rank by coming out and saying, no, we're not going to do that, because then you might say, well, what about increasing social welfare by €15? Are you going to do that? And then the answer to that would be, well, we don't speculate about measures at this point because the negotiations are still ongoing. So it's the kind of perfect story that you can print, scare the living daylights out of people, and really the government probably can't come out and poo-poo it. We mentioned on the programme last Friday morning that Dara Colery is favourite for a junior ministry, and they're reporting on it, not what we said, they're reporting on it on the front of the Irish Independent today. Former Minister Dara Colery's tipped to make a comeback to the government team tomorrow as Taoiseach Micheál Martin picks a replacement for Robert Troy. A week after Mr Troy was forced to quit as junior enterprise minister, Mr Martin's expected to bring the name of his replacement before Cabinet for necessary approval. In reality, the choice is entirely up to the Taoiseach to pick from the Fianna Fáil ranks. Excuse me, please. Other names have been cited, including Kildare North TD James Lawless and Cavan Monaghan Deputy Niamh Smith. But it seems that Mr Colery is going to be welcomed back, but with open arms there. The Irish Daily Mail this morning. It could take 15 years to clear the hospital waiting list of over 900,000 if Budget 2023 does not deliver 5,000 additional beds needed by 2030, consultants have warned. The Irish Hospital Consultants Association has told the government that business as usual is not an option. It comes as the Mater Hospital has appealed to the public for the 8th time this year to avoid its ED because of overcrowding, and nurses and doctors across the country weigh up strike action. And we know that advice has been issued, I think, more than 8 times so far this year as it relates to our local hospital here, one of them, Letterkenny University Hospital. Meanwhile, Children's Health Ireland at Temple Street has confirmed that 3 complex scoliosis surgeries have been postponed for the next 3 weeks. Apologising to the children and parents affected, it said that all other spinal surgeries would continue during this time. Now, you can only imagine the distress caused to those young people who had built themselves up to this and their families, only to be told that those surgeries are not going ahead. The hospital said that more surgery in recent months has resulted in pressure on beds, surgery, theatres and staff. Okay, let us get on to the Irish Daily Star now. And I suppose you have to explore space, don't you? Do you? I don't know. But just with everything that's going on in the world, sort of a NASA vanity project to send a big rocket up into space, it just does not seem appropriate at this time for me. But anyway, NASA axed the launch of its first rocket in 50 years, which just looks like a big pint of lager, actually. It axed the launch of its first rocket in 50 years, capable of taking humans to the moon after a gas leak made an engine overheat, though they don't know if it's capable of taking men or women to the moon, because that's the purpose of this launch. The 20 billion 322-foot Space Launch System rocket was due to carry an unmanned capsule on a 2.3 million mile 42-day mission into the moon's orbit, but NASA called off the launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida yesterday morning after controllers failed to get an engine on the unmanned rocket to cool down to its correct temperature. Maybe they need to go and see Elon Musk, because he's putting rockets into space every day and taking them back down and then sending the same rockets up. But anyway, they're spending billions upon billions upon billions of money to try and get man back up on the moon. We talked also recently about Dana being snubbed from a special bit that's been put together by RTE to celebrate Eurovision. And this paper seems to have been on to Charlie McGettigan to see if he should pull out in support of Dana. Irish Eurovision winner Charlie McGettigan has said pulling out of a concert following a snub to Dana would leave too many people out of pocket. RTE only invited 6 of our 7 song contest champs to perform in Dublin's National Concert Hall on October 13th. Bosses didn't name Dana, the first Eurovision winner from Ireland in 1970, with all kinds of everything in the special events lineup. But Charlie McGettigan won't pull out of the show with the RTE Concert Orchestra. He told us if we were to say we are not doing it without Dana, so many other workers would be out of pocket. We'll take a stand. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to protest. And you know what? If the protest worked, maybe more people would be in pocket than out of pocket. I think it's a bit of a cop-out. I understand exactly where he's coming from. It's not a criticism of him, but still, has there been an actual explanation as to why she was snubbed? Are you likely to get road rage when you're out on the road? Most people are, it seems. This is in the Irish Daily Mirror. Driving behaviour has emerged as a modern key factor that adds to people's stresses in everyday life. As many as 30% of drivers claim the maddening driving behaviour of other motorists top their list of stress factors, according to new research. But only 14% of motorists admitted in the latest study to having no bad driving habits. So, I mean, driving to and from work, if you're getting stressed doing that, what hope do you have at work? Let's see, this is some research by Aviva. It found that over half of us eat behind the wheel. 54% of people eat behind the wheel, which some claimed is their worst bad habit. So are we talking having, they're probably talking having their KFC or McDonald's while driving. The spokesperson added this was followed by driving over the speed limit. 45% of us do that. Not letting other drivers out at a junction. 25% do that. And the 25% that do it, and it's the one thing that does bother me, I'd prefer if they didn't do it. But do you ever get someone who waves you out and they gesticulate at you as if they're going to knock your head off? You know, rather than a gracious open palm saying, go on, have a lovely day. It's this finger going across as if to say, you've got 30 seconds or I'm ramming you. But anyway, it's nice to get out. A further 25% added to letting the fuel tank run too low. We all do that, don't we? Well, obviously we all don't. Only a quarter of us do. Well, I'm in that quarter. While only 14% of drivers claim to have no bad driving habits. 14% of people in complete and utter denial. But anyway, what's your worst driving habit, or what's the worst driving habit you see out on the road? 08660 25,000. Okay, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Get a free pair of 1,000 mile socks with every pair of men's and women's running shoes at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure. Run the roads, the beach or the track in comfort and style with the latest arrivals from top brands including Asics, Brooks and New Balance. Whether you're looking for extra cushioning, more lightweight shoes or trail shoes, you'll find the perfect pair of runners at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Build a better future with a digital transformation course. With digital transformation courses from Advanced Centre, you can improve the way we work together and do business. The power behind 3 of Ireland's leading universities, UCD, ATU Sligo and TU Dublin, have combined to offer flexible, accredited digital transformation courses, from individual modules to full programs. Starting in September, your future is enrolling now. See advancedcentre.ie.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy?
The highly trained team at the Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Right, okay. There was awful news that started to emerge yesterday evening, and worst fears were realised. 2 teenaged boys, both aged just 16, have died after getting into difficulty while swimming in Lough Ena in the Temple Road area of Derry. Police received a report initially after 6:25 yesterday of a number of people in difficulty in the water. A third teenager was treated in hospital, and there's another 3 young people who are going to be maybe not physically injured by this incident, but it's going to take a terrible toll on them, you'd imagine. Father Michael Canning is Vicar General of the Derry Diocese. Thank you for joining us, Father. Sorry to be speaking to you under these circumstances. It's just the worst news, isn't it?
Yeah, this is harrowing news for any family and the community, the parents, needless to say, and their immediate family, and of course the whole Indian community, and indeed the greater Waterside and maybe City people here are traumatised and shocked and saddened this morning at this harrowing news that emerged late yesterday evening and overnight of these 2 young boys who were just enjoying the afternoon and evening sunshine with their friends, but it has ended up in tremendous tragedy, and that's a terribly sad time for them and their families, and indeed for the whole community today. Everybody's really numbed and saddened by it.
Father, what do we know as to what happened?
Well, it is my understanding that about 6 of these boys got on their bicycles from Waterside here and travelled towards Ena Lough, which is, as you mentioned earlier, on Temple Road, on the way into Strathfoyle. And it's not an unknown thing for people to go on there to swim, even on the coldest days in the winter time. I sometimes see people in there swimming. It amazes me that they do it, but nevertheless, it's not uncommon at this time of year for people to go on there to swim or to play with these boards that they have in water nowadays. So these boys obviously engaged in the same activity, and it just ends up in tragedy. As to what exactly happened, I am not au fait with, but I know that's the sequence of events, yeah.
Now, these are young Derry boys, but their background is Syro-Malabar.
Yeah, these boys would have been born here in the city 16 years ago, as you can imagine, but their parents came about maybe 20 or 22 years ago here to the city, and the 2 of the parents, 2 mothers are nurses. Another works in Donegal Hospital, another has a local business here. So they've come here over 20 years ago and made Derry their home. And as you mentioned, they're from south of India, a place called Kerala. And they also brought with them their faith, and their faith is Syro-Malabar communities, and they use our church for worship every Sunday at 3:30. And they have, of course, also their own chaplain here in the city as well from India.
And I mean,
but they'd have attended our primary schools and received confirmation and first communion in our schools as well. Yeah.
Yes, but to their wider family back in India too, just the worst news to have to relate, and them so far away.
Yes, it's certainly something that they didn't expect yesterday evening. None of us expected it, and they are very traumatised and very saddened. They're very gentle, kindly people, very into community, sticking tight to each other. Needless to say, they're so far away from home, and this was hit hard on them, and it's very, very, very hard on them. Fortuitously, their chaplain was here yesterday evening, and he was able to minister the sacraments to the deceased and comfort insofar as he could to the parents and to the relatives. But it's certainly and of course some of the extended family live elsewhere here in the north of Ireland, and maybe even elsewhere in Ireland, and indeed of course the extended family, grandparents, etc., are back in India. So it was a terrible news that goes right across the continents.
Indeed, so terribly sad. Father Canny, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Mark H. Durkin is SDLP Foyle MLA. Mark, as I was saying to Father Canny there, we started getting some news early evening yesterday, and then it just got worse and worse. Awful. How did events unfold from your perspective?
Yeah, well, there was shock across the city last night as news emanated of the incident at Enoch, and I think today that shock has really been replaced by sorrow as it's confirmed that 2 young lads have lost their lives. I live very close by. I live about half a mile from the loch. I was made aware by a member of the community of an ongoing incident, which I swiftly attended to see if myself and other representatives were able to assist the emergency services in any way, i.e. by helping divert traffic and what have you from the scene. But it quickly became evident that we were on the scene of a tragedy. Families of all the young boys involved were arriving at the scene. There was chaos and confusion, an awful lot of stress, and it was just awful to be there and have such a sense of helplessness and not be able to help the people affected by it. Our thoughts and prayers are obviously with all those affected by the tragedy, the families of the 2 boys who've lost their lives, particularly the friends who were with them, who were in an awful state, as you can imagine, and who will have to carry with them for the rest of their lives what they witnessed yesterday evening. And it's important that we are there to support them. The Kerala community, as Father Kami has said, is a very close-knit community, and they'll support the families. But I think we have a wider community in the city here to support them all at this dark and unimaginably difficult time.
It really is. And a word for the emergency service as well, because all the training in the world, it will prepare you to carry out an operation like this, but it would never really truly prepare you for having to deal with this loss of life. And I often find myself thinking on them too, because it's tough on them, I'm sure.
Absolutely, they're heroes, and I commend them for their swift response last night and their valiant attempts to rescue these poor boys and their ultimate success in recovering these boys so that the families' suffering could be reduced even slightly at this time.
Enoch Loch, is it a popular swimming spot? Do we know what may have happened, Mark?
Well, there hasn't been a tragedy of this nature here in 34 years. So what you do have is maybe a new generation of teenagers here in the immediate area who aren't as aware of the dangers as maybe those of my generation might be. The loch is also used, I have to say, safely for structured recreation. We do have groups that use it for canoeing, for paddle boarding and so forth, and there's actually been efforts, or are efforts underway, that I'm involved in, other elected representatives and community representatives, to help regenerate and develop the loch's potential. But obviously they'll be put on the back burner now. That the priority now has to be to ensure support for the families affected by yesterday's tragedy and safety going forward.
Yeah, all right. It's incredibly sad, but the good people of Derry will rally, I'm sure, and offer as much support as is possible in this incredibly difficult time. Mark, thanks for your time this morning. Again, sorry to be speaking to you under these circumstances as well. For everyone who was on scene yesterday, I'm sure it was it's very difficult and it will take some time to get over. But thank you for your time this morning.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Mark H. Durkin there, who is an MLA for Foyle.
There are 3 lucky winners on Highland Radio who have one thing in common. They can still win big in our mega summer draw. €2,500 will be given away on the Naughty Alarm Clock on Friday the 2nd of September. But that's not all, because we have left the biggest prize to last. You could win €10,000 in cash. Yes, that's right. Greg Hughes will be ringing one lucky person on Friday the 2nd of September at 11:30 a.m. Have you bought your tickets yet? You can go to highlandradio.com, click on the link, answer a simple question and purchase a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. What would you do with 10 grand in cash?
With a smart meter, you can take full control of your home's electricity usage. But here's the important bit. Only if you sign up to an Electric Ireland smart meter plan. Our personalised usage insights will help you make the most of your electricity. So if you'd like to find out the perfect time to put on a wash or see how your bill's looking on any day of the month, search Electric Ireland smart meter plans and find out the best plan for your home. Smart meter required. T's and C's apply.
Hello, how can I help you?
I'm looking to claim on my insurance policy.
Okay, and what type of chip do you need to claim for?
It's not a chip. I was in a minor accident.
And was your windscreen chipped in this accident?
No, it's just my backlight and the bumper.
So your windscreen is not chipped?
No.
Unfortunately, our policies only cover chips.
Do you get the feeling that you're not getting the right cover? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish-owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, now, a caller says, Greg, such sad news. What a great loss. God love and comfort their families at this very sad time in their lives. Indeed, it's really, really, really sad. And more of your comments coming in on those that topic and others as well, which we'll get to in a moment. Right, okay. We are joined on the programme now by Helena. Hiya, Helena.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Right, we've been talking about crossings, road crossings, and you're talking about the one at Aura. Talk to me about it.
Yes, I heard Pat on the radio yesterday morning, and I couldn't agree more with what he was saying, and I've been meaning to call in for a while. I live out that road past the Aura Leisure Centre, and there's been a pedestrian crossing at it for maybe a year at this stage, maybe a bit longer. And I've just noticed that children or teenagers or adults or whatever stand there and wait to cross, and the cars just fly past. And they don't seem to understand that they're supposed to stop and let the pedestrians cross. And it's incredible, because I'll stop. I'm not saying we all make mistakes, obviously, as motorists, but I'll stop, and you'll see cars on the oncoming lane just continue to drive through, even though I've already stopped. And as I say, there's a child or a teenager there. A lot of the students come down from St. Eunan's and Loretto with their sports bags or whatever after school, and they're standing waiting, and it could be 3 or 4 cars before a car will eventually stop. And it's incredible. It's like they don't know that you're supposed to stop at a pedestrian crossing, and I just think it's a huge safety concern. At some point there's going to be a collision, I would think.
This is a full zebra crossing with the orange beacons as well, is it?
That's right, yeah, the orange flashing lights at the top. So it should be obvious. We've all passed our test. We should know that you're not supposed to just drive through those when there's a pedestrian there. And I know we don't have that many of them in Donegal compared perhaps with Dublin or whatever, but there are a few, and even if there's not, everybody's supposed to know what you do at them, that you stop,
Is there issues with line of sight, people not knowing they're there, or is it just a lack of understanding as to the rules of the road?
I think it's the lack of understanding of the rules of the road, to be honest, because when you're coming from the Glens Valley side, there's a good couple of 100 metres on the straight, and they've also put up signs. I think this must be fairly recently, so maybe 50 metres back from the pedestrian crossing. Not only is there white lettering on the road, caution crossing ahead, there's also a sign saying caution crossing ahead, a lollipop sign if you like.
Yep.
Now you could say, coming from the Letterkenny side, it's a bit of a shorter run up to it. Maybe it's a bit less, but there still should be plenty of time. And this is still a 50-kilometre zone. The cars shouldn't be. But I think the problem is there's such gridlock in Letterkenny now that when they get past that gridlock there at the Skittle Alley, they speed up. They're like, okay, I have a free run now home or wherever I'm going. And they speed up there, and they're coming around that corner so fast, and then they think to themselves, oh, the next car will stop, or by the time I stop now, I'll have had to screech to a halt. And that shouldn't be the case, because that is a very built-up area. There's houses the whole way along there,
It sounds like it is a disaster waiting to happen, Helena.
Well, I think so, because my concern would be at some point a child or a teenager or whatever will think that a car is slowing down to stop for them and make that mistake, and whereas in reality the person driving the car might be changing the radio station or unfortunately looking at their phone or something, and they're not slowing down at all. They haven't seen the pedestrian crossing. And the signage is already, I don't think there's much more can be done in terms of signage because, as I say, there is 2 lollipop signs, one on either side of it. There is the lettering on the road and there is the flashing lights. It's not that the flashing lights are out of order or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, we've so many different types of crossings now. We have the black and white zebra crossings, but they don't have the flashing orange lights. And then we have other types of crossings that aren't black and white lines at all. But you're not buying that. You don't think this is about necessarily confusion or poor infrastructure. This is just down to driver behaviour, Helena.
I'm afraid so, yeah. I think so. I don't think we can blame that. Maybe with the benefit of hindsight, given that cars aren't stopping there as they should, maybe it should have been, a traffic light where the pedestrian can press the button and the light will then go red for the cars. But again, this is, as I say, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, but drivers don't want that because what happens is people press the button and they don't see traffic, they run across, and then 30 seconds later the traffic has to stop for a blank crossing. If we respected these types of crossings better, it would do us better in the long run, because I think traffic lights would not be they're not a fantastic solution if a Pelican crossing is being used correctly. Like, what does it take then? Does it take maybe a guard on scene just to sort of observe what's going on and maybe advise motorists for half an hour for a week just to try and change behaviour? I don't know how do we resolve this, Helena? If you come up with any solutions.
Yeah, perhaps that would be an option, and as you say, if it's just done in rush hour one morning or one afternoon even for a couple of days, and just, to point out to any motorists that aren't stopping. But I suspect when the guard's there, everybody's on high alert and they slow down immediately anyway. But I don't know. There needs to be better. Now that the schools are back especially, it's a very busy road coming into Letterkenny. And unlike a lot of the roads coming into Letterkenny, you look at Mountain Top there, you look down the Balbafay Road, it's a dual carriage. Those are big, wide roads. And this isn't. It's a small, narrow road. You're already in the 50 kilometre. You shouldn't be going too fast that you can't stop there. But I think a lot of the cars are.
They're accelerating out of Letterkenny as well, as you say, after the relief of escaping the gridlock. The foot's down.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Or they're still coming into Letterkenny. They're still on that high speed, and they only start to slow down when they really have to. And I think, unfortunately, when they're going past there, they're still in the mindset of a higher kilometre speed limit, which it's not. It's only 50.
A caller says the crossing is in the wrong place. If you're coming from Dunn Stores heading to the Aura, you're on top of those lights before you know it. You accept that maybe the lines of sight aren't as good coming in the other direction, but you don't think that's a good enough excuse? Because that's a good enough excuse, I think, if you are from Timbuktu and it's your first time in Letterkenny. I would imagine 70-80% of this traffic knows that road. They're well used to that crossing being there. I mean, it's not new drivers all the time.
Absolutely right. It's not new drivers all the time. The reality is you shouldn't really be doing up to 60 or 70 coming around that corner such that you can't get stopped in time. You should only be doing the 50. And the other thing, that road is used a lot by cyclists, and it's a narrow road. We should be aware of that, and we should, we just shouldn't be coming so fast that we can't get to a halt at that.
And no motorist wants to be the one that knocks 2 or 3 children over coming around that corner. No one wants to be that person, because that's your life ruined as well. Okay, as I say, I know it possibly is not in an ideal place, but as I said before, I think people know it's there now. This is not all drivers that have never been on that road that are going through it. It's people who say, stuff it, I've been waiting long enough in Letterkenny. I'm heading out this road now, and nothing's going to stop me. All right, Helena, listen, thanks for helping us raise awareness there. Appreciate it greatly. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and text to that number, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. All right, staying on the roads, why not have the zebra crossing regulations like they have in Northern Ireland? Okay, what do you think about that? We were talking about road rage. In relation to road rage, I have found a lot more people blowing their horns at people, especially at roundabouts. Okay, what is achieved by blowing the horn, though? I don't think it actually really achieves anything in that scenario, other than relieving frustration. Like, I won't say the words, but you know what I mean? I don't think it achieves anything. but perhaps we've all been guilty of it in the past. A caller says, I've experienced road rage on several occasions in Donegal. I travel from Creasla into Letterkenny, and although I drive a tractor, I find tractor drivers are the worst. They never pull in and allow a long tail of traffic to pass, leading to mountain rage from drivers behind. It's a toughie, that, because I imagine it would take a long time to get where you have to go if you were driving a tractor, which pays its tax, insurance and all that kind of stuff, if you were pulling in all the time. Am I being a wee bit generous to tractor drivers? I just think, we are in an agricultural community, and if you were stopping all the time or pulling in all the time to let traffic pass, would you ever get away? Right, okay. Greg, I am roadworks. Sorry, I think roadworks, I believe this should be. I think roadworks should be postponed until after 8:30 a.m. and the school run is done. There was a traffic jam at the back of the convent in front of St. Columkille's National School. This is in Letterkenny again, heading towards St. Eunan's College. My son was going into his second day of secondary school and literally fell out of the car in such a panic because he was afraid he'd be late. His phone fell out of his pocket, his water out of his bag, and he started his day full of stress because he was going to be late. It's not good enough. Is it realistic to start? Would that have an positive impact on traffic? Pardon my ignorance. If you deferred the start of traffic works until such time as the school runs were over. We get that call annually. It seems to make sense, but there must be a reason as to why they don't do that. Most annoying habit: texting while driving, says a texter. Another, the worst driving habit is tailgating. It's also against the law and used to be that you had to keep a specific distance from the car in front of you. Maybe this is one to ask the Gardaí. Well, we will. I've been on board with people that tailgate. I don't like it. I don't know what the purpose of it is. It doesn't achieve anything, but some people do it. I live near the Mart and I've noticed that hardly any of the trailers have number plates on them. It's a safety issue. I think it's important that it's brought up. If there was an accident or a near miss, you can't identify the vehicle, the Gardaí should investigate. I take it, I understand where you're coming from. It is attached, though, to the vehicle in front, though. So unless they decouple it and sod off, you should be able to find out who's responsible in the case of an accident. But maybe the guards do follow it up. I'm sure there's people out there who have been done with with having no number plates. Is that a big problem? RTE have scored a massive own goal over the Donna Eurovision issue. Instead of censoring her pro-life views, they've put them at the forefront of their planned celebration. An empty seat at the head of the table speaks volumes. But is that why she has been deplatformed, I wonder? People are entitled to their views. It doesn't mean you get cancelled for your achievements. I don't see why, if she holds pro-life views, which many people in this country do as well, by the way, let us not forget that. There are different views right across the country. I don't think that in and of itself should be a reason for someone not to sing. Is that the reason? Jim, text that in. Jim, I haven't read everything about this. I wasn't aware that was the issue. I think it's a decent shout as to why it might be, but I don't think that... in this day and age, that's useful.
These days, we're all looking for healthy, tasty family meals and lots of variety. The good news is that our fishermen continue to bring us the best of the catch, like fresh Irish hake and haddock. There are so many ways to enjoy them. Try delicious Thai curry with hake or mouth-watering Cajun seasoned haddock. For lots of tasty recipes and different meal ideas, visit boardbeer.ie and look out for Irish hake and haddock next time you're shopping. Fresh ideas, great meals.
I've great news for everyone who's looking for a good night's sleep. Restex Beds are looking forward to welcoming you to their brand new showroom at Mountaintop, Letterkenny. It's one of the biggest and best bed and mattress showrooms in the Northwest and has fantastic opening offers now in store. Restex is the most trusted name in beds and mattresses in the Northwest. Why don't you call in and get the bed of your dreams at Restex Beds, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Okay, Kathy Burns is a member of the Crossroads and Killygordon community team, local resident too, of course. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us, Kathy. How are you keeping?
Morning, Greg. Doing well. Thanks for having us on this morning.
No, it's great to have you on the programme. Right, okay. Now, the Crossroads and Killygordon community are holding a planning meeting this Friday evening at 7 p.m. until 8:30 p.m. in the Cake Centre. And what is the purpose of this meeting, Kathy?
Yeah, that's right, Greg. So we're coming together this Friday, and it's really an opportunity for everybody in the local two villages, of, as you say, Crossroads and Killygordon, to have their voice heard. And there's been a lot of work that's gone on recently across the two villages in terms of, improving the appearance through cleanups and planting schemes. And we're really looking to build on the momentum of that and create a collective vision for the villages, and ultimately create a plan that we can then use going forward to improve our whole area.
Yep, these plans always work best when there's community buy-in, Kathy.
Absolutely. We could write a plan tomorrow morning ourselves, but it would have no meaning. So we needed to be authentic, and we needed to represent our local people. And Friday really is it's a workshop, so it's going to be quite interactive, quite informal, and it's an opportunity for people to come along, all local residents, stakeholders, our businesses, schools, as well as people who have lived in the area for a long time. We have people who have lived here for multiple generations, and it's important we harness that heritage and that history and make sure all our community voices are heard in the emerging plan. We're going to set a vision for 2030 and beyond. And really the purpose of that plan is not just to shape what it is that we need to do in the short, medium and long term, but it will also enable us to leverage funding. Because as you know yourself, a lot of the funding that's out there now, it has to be along a strategic plan. So that'll allow us to do that and get things moving on the ground in the villages.
Yeah, and we were in Falcarra yesterday, and I think they're a little bit ahead of you. Yeah. But this is very similar to what they're talking about up there, and they're starting to maybe see what funding, drawing down funding and seeing what funding sources are there, and it's working very successfully in other areas as well. So what's the starting point here, Kathy? Has some work been done, or are you right now at the beginning of this process?
I would say we're already we've kind of started the journey, and this is we had a few meetings a number of months back with the communities, and this is really the start of our more planning journey, where we have support from Donegal Local Development Company, and we're looking at following the Smart Villages framework, which looks at key themes around health, our infrastructure, environment, business and employment, recreation, those key things that matter most to local communities. And we're very conscious that communities are facing a cost of living crisis, and we're very conscious that there's very real issues that our communities are facing at the minute. So we want to see what we can do.
Exactly, but also this is short, medium and long term as well. So sometimes we have to look beyond what the immediate problems are and say, right, hopefully we're on a steadier footing in 5 or 10 years' time. Where do we want to be there? Where can we grow in maybe some sort of a bounce back or whatever it might be? And that might be in much sooner than 5 or 10 years. I'm just saying that, for example. So what kind of things are we talking about here, Kathy? I have to be really careful, because you don't want to be inviting people to a meeting and they think, oh, well, this has already been decided. I'm just going there to make up the numbers. So what are the sort of areas that we're talking about? You've talked about health and that type of stuff, but what kind of things, what are the talking points, I suppose, that you want to hear people's views on?
Yeah, and you're quite correct. We don't want to preempt anything, and for this to be, an authentic community and participation event. Obviously, we have ideas in our head, but we want to hear what local people's ideas are. So we'll be exploring key themes such as I said, health, recreation, quality of life. So you're talking about, potentially, improved walking routes or improved local environment.
What to do with also, green spaces, that type of stuff.
Exactly, our green infrastructure and other issues such as, our environment and sustainability, but also thinking very crucially around those short-term issues around things like cost of living and fuel poverty, all those things that we need to be addressing. And so we'll be looking at maybe potentially sustainable energy community initiatives, and looking at issues such as climate change and climate resilience, but also looking at business and employment, and seeing how we can work more closely with our local communities, and harnessing and bringing those stakeholders together with employers and industry that are anchored here very much in the local community. So it's really about bringing this all together and seeing how we can work more collectively.
Yeah, and as you say, you talked about sort of climate and energy, and then you talked about business. Those two things there's great opportunity there. Those two things are interlinked as well. Everything is interlinked, but do you know what I mean? You also have to see what options or what is this too also about, preserving the community and the size of the community, and maybe even growing it into the future. Does that form part of plans, do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, no community stands still, and I think it's very important that we anchor our community in our spirit of place and what it is that makes Crossroads and Killygordon special. And that's one of the first things we'll do actually on Friday evening, is to actually explore why people live here, what it is that they like about living here.
What makes Crossroads and Killygordon special?
Well,
you can say this without interfering with the outcome of this meeting. Go on.
Well, as you can guess, Greg, I am actually blowing, as you can imagine.
I actually didn't guess. I don't.
Did you not?
No, I don't. That kind of stuff doesn't even enter my head. But anyway, go ahead.
So I'm originally from the north, but
right.
Yeah, I love it here. For me, it's the sense of community. It's the local people, and they're so friendly and so nice. I have a little girl who goes to the local school, which is excellent. But it's also the local environment. It's such a beautiful place. The Finn Valley is so beautiful, and I think sometimes we maybe don't take that time to reflect and look around us and actually appreciate just how wonderful a space this is, and beautiful heritage. So it's all those things that come together to make it a lovely place to be. So we want to build on that, and we don't want to lose that either. We want to retain that spirit of place and what makes it very unique. But as you said, no community stands still, Greg. We need to be thinking about the future. We need to be thinking about our kids and employments and that green recovery, which is so crucial to us all. So there's lots of things that we need to be thinking about, so we can be, as it were, ahead of the game, leverage the funding and make sure that we're a thriving, sustainable place for the future.
For sure, because all the things are interlinked. Like we've said before, the success of a school or the growth of the school depends on how many students are around the place. And the more students, the more the population, the better. It's all interlinked. And, I think every community should be doing this, even if it's not to talk about where to go into the future, even to sort of establish where they're at now. Because I think we have to help ourselves, and this is not getting political or what have you, but it's very easy to fall behind or to get forgotten. And I think, communities need to organise themselves, identify the positives, maybe where things need to be improved. And it makes it much more difficult then for, things just to ebb away.
Absolutely. And this is about maximising our opportunities. There are lots of opportunities out there, and it's not just about money. Sometimes it's about working collaboratively with other agencies and making things happen on the ground. But we can't do that without a plan. We can't do that without local voices being represented. And it's important that we have that momentum behind us, and that, credibility, that we can go to a local agency or a council or a funding body and say, look, this is what local people want, this is what matters, and this is why we should be doing this particular initiative or project. It's really important that people come along on Friday evening and tell us what they think.
It's a lot to discuss in an hour and a half, so I presume it's not all going to be done and dusted in the one meeting.
Not at all. I mean, this is the start of our journey, as I say, Greg. So this is about us all coming together and maybe, joining people who have similar interests or whatever it happens to be, and really beginning to build that momentum across the whole of community. So, no, we won't be finished on Friday night. Definitely not.
Here's a comment from a listener, and if they were from the Crossroads and Killygordon area, they need to turn up on Friday. Their review is: local villages are the pride of Donegal. I hope this village keeps its ruralness. Builders and bad planning destroy small villages like Killygordon. What will be done to keep the village as it is while embracing regeneration? Well, that's exactly what this process is all about, isn't it? And it's almost the perfect comment to set up why someone should go to this meeting.
Absolutely, and 100% correct. And that's what I was saying earlier around retaining that sense of place, so that we don't lose the unique heritage and the unique character of these local places, which make them so lovely to live in and visit and work in. So unless we know what makes something very special, we can't retain that, and we can't make sure that the correct decisions are taken in terms of planning and sustainability in the future.
And instead of having outside forces making decisions for you, get organised, get involved, get a plan, and then you have more control over your destiny and your future. It's a no-brainer. Right, okay, Crossroads and Killigordon Community, they're hosting this meeting we've been talking about. It's a planning meeting this Friday evening. It's not a huge time commitment, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m, and it's in the Cake Centre, all in the local area. Welcome.
Yep, that's it. Thank you very much,
Greg. All right,
Greg.
thank you very much for your time. Take care of yourself. All right, that is Kathy Burns there. 086 60 25,000. The caller says trying to get accommodation for the Garth Brooks concert is impossible. It's a mess. It's too expensive. I've seen tickets being given away and they can't go. The stadium is going to be empty and the government are getting away with it. Well, let me assure you, the stadium is not going to be empty. I agree fully with you, but Dublin hotels have been ripping us off for generations, long before Garth Brooks. In fact, even before the last Garth Brooks concert. The problem is they're pretty much packed anyway between one thing and another. So for the last 10% of their rooms, they can absolutely gouge you. That is the reality of it. What can the government do? Maybe say to the Dublin hotels, do you see that 9% VAT rate that you have? Well, we're going to have to take that off you if you keep doing this type of stuff. Secondly, he sold 410,000 tickets, okay? So, you know, what 1% of that's 4,000, 2%, 8,000. So let's even just say it was 5% of people sort of said, I can't go because of accommodation. That's 20,000 tickets, which would make it appear on Facebook that no one was going. But I assure you, the place will be absolutely wedged. It's only a small percentage of people that are trying to shift tickets. It's not, as I say, there's 410,000 tickets sold. But there is another issue here, and that is the situation with the hotels, particularly in the capital, because even before the concerts are confirmed, as soon as dates are speculated about, you can't even get clever. They have the prices up already well in advance. That's why a lot of people are going down on buses, by the way. There seems to be loads and loads and loads of buses being planned. But it's a bit of a bummer to go up and down, and sort of takes away from maybe the whole special weekend of it. I don't know. Right, okay. It is nearly 10, but I have some comments here I want to get to. Greg, I drive from Buncrana to Letterkenny most days, and the many slow drivers from Buncrana to Bridgend doing at the most 40 miles per hour are holding up traffic. It's unbelievable, but I encounter it most days. And it ended up with people being frustrated and passing in dangerous places. These people are every bit as dangerous as fast drivers. Is the speed limit there not 80 kilometres? And 40 miles per hour is not far off 80 kilometres. I know it's a little bit under it. Maybe those people live in that area and have seen tragedy on the roads, and they just want to get there get there alive rather than not get there and be late, if you know what I mean. But maybe it's 40 kilometres per hour you're talking about. I don't know, but that's. That road is not fantastic either. Tailgating is illegal, says this caller. Remember the ad that we never hear anymore. Only a fool breaks the 2-second rule. Aye, that's right. Forget about that. Greg, after hearing the comment about cyclists not using the cycle lane yesterday, I also noticed a cyclist on the road instead of staying on the bike lane in Letterkenny. Is there a point in investing in bike lanes? I'm not sure about the bike lanes in Letterkenny, because a lot of drains and what have you are in those bike lanes, and they seem a bit tokenist to me. I'm not a cyclist, really. I can ride a bike, but I'm not a cyclist. But the bike lanes in Letterkenny, some of them at the very least, I wouldn't fancy riding a bike on them because the drains seem to be in the middle of the bike lanes. But anyway, cyclists out there, let me know if I'm talking rubbish. Another caller says the same can be said for bicycles regarding number plates. They're the elephant in the room. They need to pay tax and insurance to use the road. If they do damage to your car, they're not insured. It's very important for everyone's safety. Well, let me put it to you like this, plain and simple. Do you think it is time that bicycles, particularly with a lot of electric bikes about, do you think it's time now that they were number plated and they had to pay tax or insurance or have insurance? And we're talking more maybe, casual cyclists or whatever. Do you think cyclists should have to have number plates on their bikes, taxed and insured? 086 60 25,000. Let's see what you've to say.
The Donegal Suffolk Sheep Breeders Show and Sale will take place this Saturday, 3rd of September at Rafo Mart. Show is at 10 a.m. with the sale at 12 noon. 60 entries on offer. Online bidding available via martbids.ie. That's this Saturday at Reformart.
If you have a job to do this weekend, did you know that Watson Hire still have their brilliant weekend hire deal available? You can hire any item on Friday, keep it until Monday, and only pay for 1 day. That's 3 days hire on any equipment or machinery for the price of one. So there's no excuses to get that job done this weekend. Book early to avoid disappointment by calling Watson Hire in Letterkenny on 9167777.
Hello from Team Hope. We're the people behind the annual Christmas shoebox appeal. We know you don't usually hear from us at this time of year, but we wanted a quick word with all the teachers as thoughts turn to the new term. We want to say thanks. Thanks for looking out for our kids, for inspiring them, encouraging them, and being one of the important connections in their lives. Thanks for making a difference to the children who receive the shoeboxes too. Thanks to everyone that helped Team Hope to make children smile.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. I'm Emma Ryan. 2 teenage boys aged 16 have died after getting into difficulty while swimming in Lough Enna in the Temple Road area of Derry. Police received a report shortly after 6:25 p.m. yesterday evening of a number of people in difficulty in the water. One of the boys was transferred to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The body of the second was taken from the water and he was declared dead at the scene. A third teenage boy was also taken from the water and hospitalised for non-life-threatening injuries, while 3 other friends who were at the scene were treated for shock. Strathfoyle councillor Rachel Ferguson says the community is shocked and saddened by the tragic news.
The community is waking up today completely shocked and saddened at the news that 2 young boys had lost their lives at Enoch Rock last night. A number of them had gone on their bike. My understanding is that one had become distressed, was trying to swim in the loch. Another one had gone out to his aid and also became distressed, and unfortunately has resulted in the tragedy of losing 2 young 16-year-olds who just were about to return to school after their GCSEs this week.
Meanwhile, Father Michael Cannon, Vicar General of the Derry Diocese, added on today's 9 till noon show that this is a harrowing incident. He added that the boys' families are of Indian descent, but the boys have lived in Derry for their whole lives.
Yeah, these boys would have been born here in the city 16 years ago, as you can imagine, but their parents came about maybe 20 or 22 years ago here to the city, and 2 of the parents, 2 mothers are nurses. Another works in Galvin Hospital, another has a local business here. So they've come here over 20 years ago and made Derry their home. And as you mentioned, they're from south of India, a place called Kerala. And they also brought with them their faith, and their faith is Saira Malabar communities, and they use our church for worship every Sunday.
Motorists have been urged to obey the pedestrian crossing at the Ora Leisure Centre. The pedestrian crossing was installed over a year ago to assist pedestrians cross the busy road. However, it's been claimed that many motorists do not obey the crossing. Speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Helena appealed for motorists to be mindful of the busy road.
Children or teenagers or adults or whatever stand there and wait to cross, and the cars just fly past. And they don't seem to understand that they're supposed to stop and let the pedestrians cross. And it's incredible, because I'll stop. I'm not saying we all make mistakes, obviously, as motorists, but I'll stop, and you'll see cars on the oncoming lane just continue to drive through, even though I've already stopped. And as I say, there's a child or a teenager there. A lot of the students come down from, St. Eunan's and Loretto with their sports bags or whatever after school, and they're standing waiting, and it could be 3 or 4 cars before a car will eventually stop.
The Agricultural Minister believes the conclusion of public sector pay talks is a welcome step. Union officials described the process as difficult as they left the Workplace Relations Commission early this morning. They will brief members on a revised offer from the government. Agriculture Minister Charlie McConnell-Oak says it's important there is a proposal on the table after weeks of uncertainty.
We finally have a proposal this morning, and of course the objective of the government here was to combine and recognise the cost of living pressures that are on workers and the need to properly reward our public servants for the very important work that they do, and combine that with balancing our national budget as well as ensuring that there's sufficient funding for investment in services and public infrastructure.
And finally, a European Union-wide cap on electricity prices, a major reform of the EU's electricity market, is urgently required to address soaring bills, according to Fine Gael's Colin Murphy. The Midlands North West MEP said the current system is not fit for purpose, as currently wholesale electricity prices are linked to the price of gas. That's despite only 21% of EU electricity being produced from gas, with the vast majority coming from renewables whose cost base has not changed significantly as a result of the crisis. The Fine Gael MEP says at a time when homeowners and businesses face astronomical bills, emergency intervention is urgently needed.
The electricity that's generated across the EU, only 20% of it is generated from gas, and over 2/3 of it is generated by renewable energies. But the key thing is that the cost of producing renewable energies hasn't changed. So we need to put a cap in place that reflects the cost of producing 80% of the electricity that's not produced by gas, rather than it being linked to gas, which is only producing 20% of the electricity.
To weather now, today will be mainly dry with a mix of cloud and sunny spells. Light isolated showers are possible, highest temperatures of 20 to 22 degrees. That's all for now. We'll be back with an update at 11 o'clock, but until then, good morning. Obituary notices for Tuesday morning, August 30th. The death has taken place of Tilly Donegal, letter R, Malin. Removal from Collins's funeral premises, Culdaff, today at 2 p.m, going to her home. Funeral requiem mass on Thursday at 11 a.m. in St Mary's Church, Lag, Malin, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Family time, please, from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Liam Doherty, 7, Ard Columkill, Letterkenny. Liam's remains are reposing at his late residence today from 12 noon until removal at 6:30 p.m, going to St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, arriving at 7 o'clock. Requiem Mass there tomorrow at 12 noon, which can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. Interment afterwards in New Lake Cemetery, Letterkenny. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Liam Grant, Drum Barnett, Manor Cunningham. Liam's remains will be reposing at his late residence today from 12 noon to 10 p.m, with rosary at 9 p.m. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:15 a.m, going to St Columba's Church, Drummullo, via the Galdana Road for 11 a.m. Requiem Mass. Interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of flowers, if desired, to the Multiple Sclerosis Society, Donegal branch, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Catherine Kate Flanagan, née Carr, Ballyworski, Fanad. A funeral service will be held at the Eternal Chapel of Rest at 11 a.m. this morning, followed by private cremation. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu, if desired, to St Vincent de Paul, care of any family member, or McAteer funeral directors. The death has taken place of Kathleen McFadden, Cairn High, Ramelton. Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Ramelton at 11 a.m. today, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed on www.churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Mary Kelly, née Logue, Malin Road, Carndonagh. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral leaving there this morning at 10:30 a.m. to the Church of the Sacred Heart for a Requiem Mass at 11 a.m. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, please. The funeral mass can be viewed live on churchmedia.tv. And the death has taken place of Malcolm Much, Cavna Lee, Strabane. Funeral service in Strabane Presbyterian Church at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, followed by burial in Erney Cemetery. House private at the request of the deceased. Family flowers only. Donations in lieu if wished to cancer research. Care of Adair and Neely funeral directors. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Is this it? Is this your life? Up early to beat the traffic, in the van, same voices on the radio, same tunes. The Irish Naval Service will take you somewhere else. It'll take you to the edge, to deep water, in any weather, to challenge yourself, to learn the life skills any employer will look for when you move on. And the good news? The Irish Naval Service is recruiting right now. Visit military.ie and be more in the Irish Defence Forces.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We'll be playing a bit of music at 10:30. Going forward, actually, I'm just going to be playing music from Irish artists at 10:30. We only get to play one or two songs, and we do interviews. I do interviews all the time with people talking about how the Irish music scene is struggling a little bit, and it's a bit hypocritical then if I don't do everything I can with the one song that I have to support it, although we do get brilliant artists in and what have you. So if you have a favourite Irish artist, doesn't matter what genre it is, get in touch with us and we'll stick it on a list, and I'll pick from that list going forward to select our song. It could be anything from, U2 to, whoever it is. Jimmy Buckley, doesn't matter. But just to do what we can to support Irish music on this programme. So if you have any suggestions, what should we be playing? Get in touch, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. All right, you've just 3 or 4 days to win €10,000 on this programme. There is €10,000 in cash to be given away on the 9 till noon show this coming Friday. It's the end of our summer mega cash draw. And if that's not good enough for you, well, Lee Gooch is going to give you, or one of you who's entered, €2,500. So 12.5 grand to go on Friday, which is lovely. It's a nice amount of money. And hopefully it would be enough for some of you to treat yourself, or maybe even to ease the pressures that we're all facing at this time. So if you want to get involved and you can afford it and play for fun, it's €10 for a ticket. You can go onto our website, highlandradio.com. There's a simple question there. It's effectively a box ticking exercise. You can get your ticket for a tenner. You can get 6 for 50 or 10 for €80. You can put individual names on them. You can give them as gifts or presents or whatever you want to do. All of you who've already bought tickets, you're in the draws, by the way, so you can sit back and relax. But if you want to make sure your name is in the hat, so to speak, get your ticket now because what will happen is we will get a rush on Friday morning, and we'll do absolutely everything we can to make sure anyone who wants to buy a ticket will get one, but there's a procedure to be gone through. So get yours early, and then you can relax, sit back and see if you win either 2,500 with Lee Gooch or 10 grand with me. How do you get your tickets? As I mentioned, go onto the website, highlandradio.com. If you're a bit cautious about inputting your details on the internet, it's a very secure setup, by the way, but I understand some people have some reservations, and I want everyone who wants to be involved to be involved. So you can call us to 07491 25,000. Katie will take your details and process your tickets there. Or if you're just dealing cash, call up to us. We'll sort you out that way as well. All right, so we've the last couple of days of our summer mega cash draw. 7.5 grand has been given away already. Delighted about that. But we're giving away in one foul swoop. It's actually 2 foul swoops. 12.5 grand on Friday. So if you want to have a punt, get involved now. This is not the lottery. There aren't millions of people playing here. We're in the Northwest, so you can imagine in terms of ticket sales, your odds are much better than that of something like the lotto. Do you know what I mean? So get involved if you wish. highlandradio.com. Get your tickets today. Or you can call 07491 25,000 and we'll accommodate you that way. Be more than happy to do so. Stay right where you are, of course, because Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace will be joining us for the Community Garda information item. That's coming up after the bingo numbers and a break. But a caller says, Greg, of course it's a disgrace that Donna is excluded from the Eurovision show. Have we spoken to Donna about this? I wonder, would it be worth speaking to her just to get her views on it? Because I know she's highly respected in her native Derry in the Northwest area, the Greater Northwest area. She's a friend of the programme. So if she's available, I'm sure she'll speak to us. But this caller says, Greg, of course it's a disgrace that Donna is excluded from the Eurovision show. What reason did RTE give? Is it because Donna is from Derry, because she's an older woman, because she's a practicing Catholic, or because she's pro-life, or is it all of the above? All of the above should not preclude her from being part of that. If those were the excuses, those are no excuses at all. This caller goes on to say, Donna was our first winner, probably celebrated all over Europe, but not in the Dublin bubble that is RTE. We might actually get onto RTE as well and see if they'll release a statement as to why they've excluded her. It's not a campaign. It's just, in this day and age, I think we're entitled to know. We're funding all of this. We fund those orchestras, people that sit around doing they're amazing musicians, nothing personal. But we pay millions upon millions of people. It would take the entire population of Buncrana to pay their TV license, and it wouldn't even scratch the surface of how much the orchestra in and of itself costs, let alone everything else. Right, okay, so we'll see if we can get some clarity in relation to that. I agree totally with your caller in the first hour, Helena. Something more has to be done at the Ora. Drivers don't stop when there are pedestrians waiting to cross. They would sooner drive over them. It's going to take a tragedy to happen before something is done there. Well, we'll see if Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace can give us some insight into the rules there and what maybe needs to be, well, I'm not going to question on what needs to be done, but just about those types of crossings in general. This caller says, lines of sight are not a problem, speed is, and a general lack of driving standards in Donegal. Enough excuses, says that caller. Okay, good luck if you are playing the bingo today. Here are your numbers, and I said good luck, didn't I?
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 30th of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 35. The numbers are 64, 63, 66, 54, 46, 81, 65, 61, 84, and finally 62. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Want unbeatable value from Sky? Here's the deal. Get Sky Broadband for just €29 a month, plus Sky Q for only €10 a month. Super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings. That's Sky Broadband for €29 a month, plus Sky Q for €10 a month for 12 months. Now that is unbeatable value. Go to sky.ie. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com, because life matters.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, Tuesday morning, 30th of August, it's time for the Community Garda information item, and we welcome into studio this Tuesday Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace, the Divisional Crime Prevention Officer. Thanks for joining us, Paul. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning.
It's good to have you with us. Okay, we'll get to some information a little later on in this item. But let's start with the appeals. We'll start in the Buncrana district. A reported burglary, Paul.
Yeah, that's at 12:45 p.m. It was reported on the 23rd of August last week at number 1 Cranamati, Burt. Damage to the rear door, window broken in a patio door, theft of property, copper cylinder, kitchen units, damaged kitchen units, immersion heaters, that sort of stuff. Now, obviously, a house either been done up or in the process of being built or whatever. So, we're just appealing if anybody's seen anybody in that area around Cranamati and Burt.
Does that, would we need to then, and you always have to be cautious, Paul, do we have to be concerned that maybe, they're out looking for metals and that type of stuff, and maybe make sure sites and houses generally are secured?
I would say you're spot on there. That seems to be the trend. Crime trends are starting to increase again. We came out of COVID, we had the summer and all that, but I just see another one there in Letterkenny where a new build where over €1,000 worth of armoured cable was stolen. There's a couple of other things that are linked to the construction industry. We see down the country there nationally that vans are starting, workmen's vans or work people's vans are starting to be attacked again. They're using different types of techniques to manipulate locking systems and all of that. But I suppose if you can, and sometimes it's not practical, if you have specific equipment or expensive equipment to try and remove it out of the van overnight, that's not always practical. But maybe get the van into a garage or something like that. Or in some cases we've seen where people have extended their house alarm into the van. You actually can do it in a wireless situation, so that if the van is interfered with. Now, most vans, modern vans, have good electronic alarm systems as well, but that trend is starting again. Yeah.
If you empty your van and say have a sign on saying this van's emptied of tools at night time, is that would that deter?
I don't know, to be honest with you.
And one other thing too, we don't have statistics to hand as such, Paul, to lean on. So maybe just from your years of experience in the Guards, that you've seen the highs and lows of the economy.
Yeah.
When the economy is squeezed, do we see an uptick in crime where items of value are targeted? You will,
and people will unfortunately buy things at below the price, and you can be sure if it sounds too good to be true, it normally is. And the problem is have you title to that equipment or them tools if you bought them? I suppose that we're linking in then with the JPC, where they bought 2 TELUS property marking machines, and we kind of started rolling them out over the summer in a number of the festivals, Port, out in Mina Crosh, in Ardra, Ballyshannon, and up in Clonmany, where people were able to bring in. It was basically only just a snapshot or a teaser to see, but we would hope to maybe roll it out, particularly initially to the farming community at March, and that where if property is marked. And anybody can mark. You can mark your own property very, very simple with a UV marker or a permanent mark that But all you need to do is just photograph that mark and say, well, my item is marked on that spot. There's the mark, so you can prove title to it then, and it makes it less attractive to the thief. So that's something we'll have to be doing going forward.
If the general economy is tightening, squeezing, then you see more activity then on the black economy. In other words, more stolen home heating oil. People probably more inclined to buy home heating oil because they're desperate. Now, obviously, you're discouraging people from doing that, but we have to. What I'm trying to get at here is we have to make sure we're extra on our guard then, as it seems we are going to go through a spell where there's less money around.
Well, there will, and you see the headlines there this morning that fuel is going to spike again, and that they're talking about taking away the reduction on farm diesel or green diesel, and that sort of thing. So, like, you know, when we go into the winter months, there's going to be a squeezing, there's going to be a reduction, there's going to be a lot of things. And like oil tanks are hard to protect, really, because in the main now, they used to be metal or steel, they're plastic, and they're easily accessed as such unless you have some layer around them, i.e. have them in a shed or in an enclosure or something like that, or maybe in extreme cases covered by CCTV for large amounts. But at the same time, CCTV will only show you what happened in the past. So you need to have some sort of an alarm system if the volume starts to drop.
That's exactly what I'm getting. And we talked about this before, and a lot of listeners then were... Firstly, I think there's two reasons why. To monitor the amount of oil that's in the tank, because... You know, you can't order not a lot of us can't just order the 500 litres. So maybe you're ordering in lower amounts, and you want to know. You want to know. You don't want it to run out because the damage to your boiler and what have you. But also, you will get a notification to your phone if the level drops rapidly. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. Which is more immediate, as you say. CCTV's retrospective.
It's retrospective. You know, I suppose the advice is to try and keep them away from it. You know, and you know, whether it's been done on a semi-commercial basis where people are stealing the oil and then selling it at a lower rate, that should raise alarm. And if people, if customer or residents start buying fuel in that fashion, it'll only drive crime.
And people need also to, I think, be aware all the time, but extra aware after just having a fill. Yeah. Because the criminals will want to get maximum bang for their buck. And we can't be naive to suggest that they will not be following or keeping an eye on. We've seen that before. We know, and that's a good point, where people ordered their oil, weren't at home on the day, tank was filled during working hours, and then they came back and the next thing, all gone. So they're so it's just, look, it's a tricky one. And I suppose at the end of the day, that's where we're asking the community to come in here. If you see something like that going on, please make a phone call. It's easier to check it out at the time. People may be able to view, the guards aren't interested. That's what we're there for. The cars are out. It's a matter of passing on what you see. Saw someone going in the back of that house, not happy with it, rather than the home owner coming home in the evening and the fuel all gone. Yeah, definitely. I agree. We are going to have to help each other out in this one. Right, okay, so you mentioned carpenter cylinder, loft ladder, kitchen units damaged or stolen. So if anyone saw anything around that area in the Carranamady Burt area, 12:45 on August 23rd. Okay, this is pointless and causing distress. Criminal damage instance as well in Clonmany. Yeah, and this was an elderly person's house, an older person's house. Eggs been thrown at a house, and it would appear, and I see Caroline handed me a note about something, she may give it to you as well, rang in there about damage to a number of houses up around that area over the last number of weeks, and we're just at Clinton, we're just having a look back for in the last 7 days since the last Garda programme. So the guards were, while they were up there, they observed that this house had been pelted with eggs as well, and that's very disconcerting for older people. And it happens now and then. And in relation to that, I just seen one that came in overnight, where there's damage to 2 playhouses at Clonta National School. So there's something going on up there. That was just reported yesterday evening at the Clonta National School, and a lot of damage to the house, and it would appear that the place might be used by youths for drinking or whatever over the weekend. So, you know, we'd ask the community up around there to talk to their local guards. It's not good enough, really, and it's disconcerting. And any information, again, in relation to anything in Buncrana District goes to 07493200540 or the confidential number 1800 666 111. All right. Now, more instances. Again, this is one to mark your card on. More instances of commercial fishing equipment being lost, being damaged or stolen. This is not the first appeal we've had in this regard in the last while. Talk to us about this one. It's in Milford District. Yeah, theft of lobster pots. It wasn't reported to the 25th of August, but, you know, it may have occurred sometime after the 14th because obviously the pots were let out down in Mulray Bay. There was 15 lobster pots cut adrift
They were attached to a buoy by a rope, and there was 33 went off in another direction, but they were repairable. So that's somebody's livelihood. The catch, I suppose, is what maybe they were after. But, you know, each individual lobster pot costs a lot of money to people in the coastal communities. And linked to that, they're going back a number of weeks ago, if you just bear with me, there was other fishing equipment damaged down in it was in Inishowen. I'll just come to it in a second, Greg. I have it here, at Lower Drumweir in Greencastle, where there was anchors and oars and that taken. That was on the 8th of August. The guards attended there, and again, a lot of 5 lobster pots taken there, and the value in them at €50 each. So, you know, it's quite a bit. Nets, buoys, that sort of thing, equipment, and any equipment that people use going to sea, you know, they mightn't notice it missing until they actually need it, and that can have terrible effects, you know, devastating effects on people's livelihood and people in coastal communities. So, you know, we see that with boat engines and all of that sort of thing going missing and being stolen. So, like lobster pots, somebody's livelihood, the value of the catch, the value of replacement, you know, is quite significant. So, any information around the Mulray Bay area around, now it's hard to put a time on, it wasn't reported at 25th, and Milford at 07491533060.
Yeah, we have to be the eyes and ears on this one, because it's very difficult otherwise, and people will have seen something. Right, okay, now we are going to the Letterkenny district here.
Letterkenny, between the 22nd of the 8th and the 23rd last week. It was a new build, closed up around 5:15, and following morning they noticed, and I did mention, armoured cable stolen. The armoured cable was quite valuable. So again, it's in the Castleshannon area out the Remelton Road. And linked to that, Greg, just there was a few came in overnight. I haven't them on the thing, but on the script, in relation to damage to a storage container on a building site up at Meadow Hill, Kiltoy. And the container was an empty container, thankfully, but it was set on fire, and the fire brigade attended. So we have no evidence at the moment of how it started. So the investigation is ongoing, but you know, that's damage again to property. It's taking the fire brigade out when maybe they were needed somewhere else. So that was overnight last night. That's why I haven't it on your script there.
No problem. I think you've been a bit generous calling it a script, but thanks very much nonetheless, Paul.
Well, it's my script. Exactly. And you know what my script usually consists of one page.
It's in Wallace language, I'm not sure.
Cryptic.
Listen, it's
lucky to have it at all.
Exactly. We're getting the when's Gran you back? We're getting the information out there.
Thanks very much for the vote of confidence.
No, it's perfectly fine. Right, back to school now, and you know, through different correspondence and calls we're having here, Paul, you know, a lot of disquiet out on the roads. We all are road users, be it pedestrians, cyclists, lorry drivers, tractor drivers. It's all our shared space, and we have to share more of it with back to school, don't we? So there's some things we need to be extra careful on.
I think the schools in the main went back yesterday, and I suppose there's probably a lot of little sleepy heads there this morning for people going to big school, and after the long day and all of that.
And
so
the poor children.
Yeah, well, and it's a big step. It's a big step for them. So we have increased density on all the roads in Donegal, urban and rural, and we would just say to motorists, take care around the schools. The schools are well flagged now with the advance warnings. I was just looking coming into Elliston there this morning. You know, they have the speed thing 60, and then the flashing lights, and around bus pickup spots and drop-offs in particular, where they mightn't be that aware and walk out from behind, you know, a bus as it's just pulling away.
And it could be the student's first time on a bus.
Well, you see, it could be,
you know what I mean? We have to also presume, as a driver or a cyclist or whatever, that we can't presume that every child getting off that bus is really experienced and won't make a mistake, isn't distracted, maybe they're hungry and not thinking straight. You know, you have to approach that situation presuming a child's going to run out in front of the bus, or what? And I think in America you can't pass a bus.
I did. I saw that somewhere, and you know, I had experience there on Sunday morning myself, where I was driving along, and there was a wee boy coming from the shop in a football strip, and he was behind a wall, and I didn't see him until he came out from behind the wall. The wall was higher than he was, and I got a fright, and it just shows you it can happen. So, like as you say, might be their first time on the bus, be it going to the national school or the second level or whatever. Expect the unexpected. Yeah, I heard somebody talking on radio last week about the Safe Cross code that we all learned.
It seems old-fashioned.
It seems old-fashioned, but it's the same thing. And I think any parent or guardian or whatever, if you get a chance with them when you're crossing the road, just stop for that second and get them to do the left and right looking and all of that sort of thing. If they're in cars or whatever, put on the belts and be quiet, because mums and that in particular, I suppose, can be stressed out in the morning getting into school, and it's important that everyone belts up and not be annoying your mum or your dad or whoever's taking you. Again, careful alighting from a vehicle, steps, all that sort of thing. And as you say, particularly this week, they're probably distracted in a big way in that, it's all new. It's, with the way school went for a long time, it's all new. There will be tired, long days, that sort of thing. So if you're walking or cycling to school, be aware of your surroundings, adhere to the rules, using footpaths, cycle paths if they're provided. As we go into darker times, then, think about the reflective vests, lighting and that sort of thing. So they are very vulnerable, particularly the ones going into, as they say, big school at a national level. But they're our future. They're very vulnerable and they're precious to us. So,
all right.
Think about them. Think about them
bits,
this
exactly.
week.
And things, for people who've got into a way driving through the summer and not expecting certain things in certain places, things are changing this week and into next week. Okay, we've discussed some safety concerns, not safety concerns, but security advice as it relates to work vans and home heating oil. I got a very convincing email from Revenue there, purportedly from Revenue, offered me a refund of €324 or something. Gone be the days where, the scam was that you'd get some share of a multi-billion euro lotto or something. I checked the URL. It was a link. We don't click links in emails or text. We know that. It was actually a Japanese email address, or registered in
well, you
in
see,
Japan.
they've changed their technique as well now. One time it was offering you big sums of money and all that. Now they'll offer you maybe €25, and you just think, well, sure, €25 would be handy. You could put it in the car or
Better
wherever.
in my pocket than theirs.
Yeah, and that's to lure you in, because, like, at the end of the day, it's social engineering at its very best. It's gathering of the salient information,
They
who
want
you are.
your account.
Yeah.
They want your
They want your
account
name, they want your gender, your date of birth, your account number,
to lodge the money, but obviously it's to empty your account.
Yeah, and it just, as you say that, just this morning again, just looked, a lady in the Manor Cunningham area reported that she was getting broadband installed. She received a call from what she believed was the customer support. Then they sent a text message for her to click on. She clicked on the message and it took control of her mobile device straight away. €726.50 out of her account. So that just, I think it's a great example that about how fast that could happen. So
when I mentioned the Revenue email, I posted on my social media as a warning. To try and advise people. Or to help, to share information. And I don't think I can mention the person because I'm not sure if I'm not sure I have the permission to mention them anyway. But I was speculating as to where they got my email address from.
Yeah.
So this person works in cybersecurity and was able to run a scan on my email address, and he was able to tell me where my email was leaked from. It happened to be LinkedIn. LinkedIn had a security breach, right? So my email was leaked from that security breach, and my password as well. And he was able to asterisk out elements of my password, and it was a random password that I had. And there it was. So my email and now that was only one leak.
Yeah.
It also been leaked from a number of other companies. Change your passwords, long passwords, change them regularly.
Yeah.
I never expected to see someone able to send me an old password. I didn't realize, I don't know, I never thought it through.
You see, people are thinking on various different levels, and a lot of us, including myself, are at the basic level, but there are people there that's their whole thing, and it seems very simple to them, and they're wondering why they're not more safeguards.
And people think it's the HSE selling their information.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a lot of these are hacks into the likes of LinkedIn, Plex. People who use the Plex server system, recently they got hacked. So that's another username and password. It's so important to use different passwords for different websites and to change your passwords, and it's only something that's really come home to
and
room.
like people, there's some people still using 0000 and 1234. You know, so you need to be a wee bit more ingenious than that.
Okay, right now, car sales.
Yeah, this is one that has propped up. Where they advertise on a sales platform, and I hope they won't mind. You know, the like of Donegal is very popular for car sales. The perspective, the big one on this is, and it's applicable here because we've had one victim currently in Donegal. The customer seeks to meet the person in Northern Ireland, saying that they're working or they're too busy or whatever, but they are interested in the car, and they produce a bank draft, and they say, take a photograph of the bank draft. You'll be that's going straight in now, and all of that. And believe it or not, no.
Excuse it. That's the air conditioner has just spewed out ice.
A number.
Do you want ice?
No. I have water.
That's the third time and every time it happens,
it's the gods.
I jump through. Jump
gods.
out of my skin. Sorry, Paul.
Well, I did.
Never seen you move so quick.
No. That's the policeman's response. You say. But believe it or not, they take the photograph of the draft and they hand over the keys and hand over the car. It's gone. One car was purchased in Northern Ireland and was stopped by the UK, gone down the M6 the following morning by the police.
Yes.
So it's high value prestige cars. Border geography has been exploited here. There's no crime here because it happens in a separate jurisdiction. And we have one victim currently in Donegal who parted with his BMW and it's gone.
Right,
it's just gone. And the investigation process is complicated. And basically they're saying meet you in Derry, Strabane, Armagh, Auchnacloy, the towns dotted around the border, Newry, you know, I'm just working, but I can't get away, but I really want to buy that car. I have money sitting here for you. Maybe even sending you a photograph of the draft and all that sort of thing. So,
right, so be extra careful. We can't get through everything that's on the list. I think there's an assault, though, in Quigley's Point that's at the bottom of this. Might be quite a time-sensitive one to mention.
Yeah, just an assault in a licensed premise in Quigley's Point on Sunday night between 9 o'clock and 8:15. Injured party went into the toilet and assaulted by an unknown male, but ended up in Letterkenny Hospital. So it must have been, the injuries must have been serious enough. So Burnfoot, Gardaí or Buncrana there are investigating that at 9320540. And just, Greg, just two that came in overnight if I have time.
No, go ahead. It's
one,
important.
yeah, one in Moville, entry gain to vacant property at James Street, Moville. By smashing the back door, a lot of damage caused inside, doors, walls, toilet, cisterns, banisters, all that. Nothing taken but damage, and that's not good in any community.
No.
You know, and again in Moville or in Greencastle, Main Street, Greencastle last night, a guy was observed jumping on the windscreen of a car. I think it was a Volkswagen Golf. The guards, it has been reported. No, it was a silver Audi A6. Sorry. But, you know, again, anybody that was in that area last night, that was between 1:45 and 1:30. So I think the guards might have a fair idea where they're going with that, but just to mention that. Yeah. And lastly, 3rd of July, Balnahone and Fawn, again in Buncrana District, there was €12,000 worth of sheep stolen. Full-time farmer, you know, it has affected him very much. I have to call out and see him in relation to that, but you know, there may be, I know it's a bit on, it's almost 2 months now, but there might be somebody who knows something in relation to that, so I'd just like to mention that.
Okay.
A lot of sheep.
Okay, and very important as well, Pelican Crossings. There's one out at Aura. I'm not asking you to comment specifically on that one if you don't know the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, I see. There was a note here right away: pedestrian or the motorist.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, there's a hierarchical structure there. You know, the person on foot has ultimate access or right of way
at a Pelican Crossing. This has to have the beacons.
Yeah, well, anybody walking, the pedestrian always has, and then it's the person on horseback. And it's the person on the pedal cycle. And then it's the motorist.
Right, okay.
So a lot of motorists complain about cyclists, and I am one myself, as you know.
Motorist and cyclist.
Yeah, but they complain about cyclists. But cyclists have more of a right of way on the road. Now, if they're cycling out in the middle of the road, that's different. But if they're cycling as it should be, So that's the hierarchical structure, because it comes, the person walked first, then they came on horseback, then they started a cycle, and then they designed the motor car.
I
If you
understand
think of it that
exactly
way.
what you're saying, right? Okay, but I don't want to find ourselves confusing the situation any further, so let me put it to you like this. We're talking about the Pelican Crossing at Ora, okay? But if you were to say go to the zebra crossings in Stranola, the hierarchy is different there.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the lights, and the motorist, I believe, is the right of way, but they can be gracious and let someone pass.
Yeah.
So in relation to where it is a signed crossing like the one out at Ora, for example, if a motorist sees someone standing on the side of the road and it's clear their intention will be to cross the road, they're obliged to stop to let those people cross, are they?
I'm not sure about that, and I'm not going to get it wrong. And I would actually, I must go out and look at that crossing because I just can't recall it at the moment. But if someone is on the side of the road with an intention to cross at a crossing point, I would be erring on the side of that they would have the right of way to do that.
Yeah, without stepping out.
Without stepping out. Now, they have to satisfy themselves that the traffic is going to come to a halt. So everyone has shared responsibility, as opposed to the best way to answer it. But they're at a designated crossing point. If they were 100 metres up the road and just decided to walk out, it's different. They're at a designated. Now, it's a good while since I did my driving test, as you know. And probably people are saying he should know that, but I don't, and I'm not going to let on that I do when I don't. But I would, common sense and courtesy would say that if someone is intending to cross at a designated crossing point, and you see it a lot down there at the hospital as well, but they have the lights there.
Yes. But these ones are lit up at Ora. Anyway, we'll get some clarification on that. Appreciate your honesty. It's a topic.
Have to be honest to you, Greg, wouldn't I? You'd soon catch me out.
I don't know. I don't think I would.
Ewan told me to be on time today.
Did
he? Did.
Good. Well, you listened to him.
He said have a big script as well.
Well, you didn't listen to him on the second bit, but you did on the first.
Lucky to have any script at all.
I know, but listen, we got there. Paul, thanks very much as always. Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace there. That was the Community Garda item for this Tuesday, the 30th of August. It returns for you after the news at 10 next week.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
M&S school uniform for curious minds.
Today, I jumped in 3 massive puddles before the bell rang.
We went on an adventure in the garden and met a snail.
And we were monsters running in the playground.
And then I made a volcano out of beans and mashed potato. It was so messy.
Then we were superheroes on our scooters. Can we go home now? Because I want to try and do it again.
For kids that never stop, M&S super durable, sustainable, hand-me-downable and kid-proof school uniform for curious minds. Available in-store and online now.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €110 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
What's your dream job? Lawyer, engineer, criminologist or software developer? Do you want to develop renewable energies, create the next great drama or improve people's health? Anything is possible at Ulster University Ncbi campus, where you can study in the heart of Derry, Londonderry. Clearing places are now available to help you realise your ambitions. It's time to say hello future. Apply now for September 2022 at ulster.ac.uk.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Buncrana should attend the clinic in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday 29th and Tuesday 30th, and donors from Carndonagh should attend the clinic in Carndonagh Community School on Wednesday 31st of August and Thursday 1st of September. Making an appointment is recommended, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
There are 3 lucky winners on Highland Radio who have one thing in common. They can still win big in our mega summer draw. €2,500 will be given away on the Naughty Alarm Clock on Friday the 2nd of September. But that's not all, because we have left the biggest prize to last. You could win €10,000 in cash. Yes, that's right. Greg Hughes will be ringing one lucky person on Friday the 2nd of September at 11:30 a.m. Have you bought your tickets yet? You can go to highlandradio.com, click on the link, answer a simple question and purchase a ticket for €10, 6 for €50 or 10 for €80. What would you do with 10 grand in cash?
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. When school's back, it's non-stop. Luckily, there's bags of food savings at Lidl. Get bird's eye chicken burgers reduced from €3.45 to just €2. A bunch of bananas, only 49 cents. And a multi-pack of John West tuna, just $4.75. Now, their offer's worth repeating. School days cost less at Lidl. More for you.
Our McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ourmccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. Our McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Is your car due a service? We offer pickups and drop-offs from your home or work. We even offer courtesy cars, making your car service a hassle-free experience. Call today or visit imotors.ie to book in.
Alzheimer's Memory Walk takes place on Sunday 18th of September. Register now at memorywalk.ie or call us on 01 207 3800. Let's walk together. Supported by Irish Life.
Ready, Steady, Grow Childcare Centre Ballybuffet require a full-time childcare assistant with a level 5 or 6 qualification, a part-time childcare assistant and 2 child assistants to cover maternity leave, and a cook with experience of home cooking. For further information, contact Paula on 074 9190 151 or send your CV to info@rsgchildcare.com.
Okay, we run daily social media polls here on Highland Radio, and the one going on our social media today is off the back of a story I mentioned yesterday. Dress codes have been implemented in some pubs in Dublin, prohibiting consumers from entering the premises if they're wearing a tracksuit. Do you think this is a valid reason for refusing entry? You see, the thing about this is, and I think sometimes you have to dig deeper into these types of stories to find out really what's going on. So say, for instance, a hen party, their theme dressing up was in tracksuits and they were going in to drink cocktails and spend a fortune. Would the same Dublin pub prohibit them from coming in their tracksuits if it was some sort of a theme for a hen party or something? Or would they maybe bend the rules a little bit there? Or is it really, are they making, judgment calls on what someone's background might be simply because of the clothes that they're wearing and they want to keep them out? Which is, in this day and age, it's their business, it's their private space, I suppose, but I wouldn't be too comfortable with that. But anyway, what do you think out there? If you're on our social medias, Instagram and Facebook, have your say there. Or text us your feelings as well. Are you comfortable with business premises excluding... But if it was a high-end restaurant, in inverted commas, people probably would go, well, of course you can't wear a tracksuit in there. Is that not the kind of the same thing? What's your views? Let's tease it out. Also want your views on whether or not you believe that cyclists should have to have number plates to identify them in case of damage to a vehicle or a crash or something. A caller said that should be the case. We want your views. 08660 25,000. Get them into us. Let's tease out the conversation. A caller says, I'm researching socio-economic issues. I heard Greg speaking about travellers' facilities with a member of the traveller community during the week, but I don't know where to find that interview now. Can you help? Of course I can help. You can go onto our website. It was last Wednesday, by the way. You can go onto our website and check it out there in the playback section. Just go to Wednesday. Or on our social media as well. We archive the programmes there. You can check out our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. Go back to last Wednesday, flick through, and you should be able to find what you're looking for. We got a letter in the post today. Hi, Greg. On the topic of housing Ukrainians, I know of a large bed and breakfast which has been condemned because it has mica and can no longer operate as a bed and breakfast, but now is stuffed with Ukrainians. and is receiving the same rate as a small hotel. This is wrong and greedy at the highest level, according to this listener. Surely there should be checks on these premises. I hope you read it out. Of course I'll read it out. Well, you see, all rules are off in this situation because these are people not getting into the ins and outs of it, but are fleeing a country which any part of that country at any time, Russia could drop a tactical nuke. Could do it on Kyiv. Where people keep listing all those hotels and all, they could drop a tactical nuke on Kyiv at any point whatsoever. Anywhere they can reach, they can reach to bomb. So people with their young families are saying, you know what, I don't think it's safe for me to be there for my young family, so I'm going to flee to other countries in Europe, or countries in Europe, one of them being Ireland. And in that scenario, really, whether a building has been condemned for general habitation, because as Micah, the same rules do not then apply to in that situation. That's just one take on it. 086 60 25 1,000. Okay, we are joined on the programme now by Sister Eilisco. Good morning to you, Sister. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No, it's our pleasure, and it's an important issue. You have described Ireland as a haven for human traffickers. What has led to that statement, Sister?
It is my belief that the vast majority of people in Ireland are not aware it's even happening. And while it's not happening, there's no outrage from the population about it. It's not seen as something urgent. It's happening all the time in a kind of an invisible way. So if the situation were reversed, if they were Irish people being trafficked into other countries, there would be a great hue and cry about it. But the offence is mostly against people from other countries like in Nigeria, Brazil, Romania, and Eastern European countries. So there isn't an outcry because those people are silenced.
I just wonder sometimes when we use the term human trafficking, if people find it difficult to become outraged, because what does it mean? What are we talking about? Because it's a catch-all, okay? And I think it's hard for us to channel our emotions in a catch-all umbrella term. Let's talk about what we mean when we talk of human trafficking, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And people can be confused between human trafficking and people smuggling. You know, we see they hit the headlines, you know, when somebody, the awful tragedy of people in containers, for example, or people crossing the Mediterranean, or people like that. These hit the headlines all the time.
So there are people that have been sold a dream. You want from where you are, we can relocate you into this place, pay us €5,000 and we will guarantee you safe travel. And often they die, or they die in open waters, having fallen from boats, or they're found in containers and what have you. So that would be trafficking of humans.
Yes. Yeah. That is human smuggling. So
sorry, I beg your pardon,
You're okay. When they safely arrive, if and when they safely arrive in the country they want to go to, or a country from which they can access where they want to go to, the smugglers let them go free. They have no more to do with them. On your way, off you go, you're free. But with trafficking, it's a different thing. Traffickers keep hold of the people, and they are in charge of them. They have threatened them. They frighten them. They can be physically violent against them. And they exploit them. They don't let them go.
They're trapped.
They bring them for a purpose, and that purpose is to make money for themselves.
So that could be through the sale of sex, presumably. It could be other type of work, very low paid, if paid at all, type of work. That's how the victim is impacted. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so. It could be domestic work. It could be cannabis growing. It could be domestic work and forced begging, those occupations. But we concentrate mostly on trafficking for sexual exploitation.
Which there is no money in that if men primarily do not buy it. If they understand that engagement, it's exploitation of a person may well be having to do that against their will.
Yes, Yes, that is the case. And while there are buyers or users or exploiters, whatever you want to call them, while they are there, there's a huge demand. And so the traffickers will keep bringing them in and using every opportunity. For example, Ukraine. There have been people on the border in dire straits, having lost their home, lost their hope maybe, and they have been actually trafficked for exploitation. And some of our European colleagues on the bordering countries have told us about that, and they're actually working and trying hard to combat that.
And Sister, we'll return to this when we have more time, but in the final minutes, you know, we can call on people to try and do their bit to ensure this doesn't happen. But we expect the state to take it very seriously, to investigate all cases, to follow it through, to discourage it. And I think the state is letting us down in that regard.
Not entirely. They are really, you know, they have stepped up. They have definitely stepped up recently, especially in the light of the TIP report, the Trafficking in Persons report, in which we were on a level with countries like Kosovo, you know, and third world countries. But they are definitely, I know because we are in touch with the Department of Justice, and definitely there has been activity. There have been some arrests, but of course not enough. But the main thing is public awareness. The amount of unawareness out there is unimaginable. And people can do things, you know, so what can they do? For example, a lot of this stuff happens in hotels, especially children. Children are exploited in hotels for pornography and for actually physically being sexually abused. So if you're using a hotel, check with them. Find out if they have trained their staff in anti-human trafficking. And there's an organization I'd like to remind you about, it's called MECPATS, MECPATHS, MECPATS, who train and have trained numerous hotel staffs throughout the Republic in this. So don't use a hotel. If you're going to have, you know, a wedding reception, a reunion, a after-match celebration, whatever, don't use the hotel unless you've checked in advance that there is no human trafficking there and that they can show you a certificate of training for their staff. That's one thing we can do. We are working very hard here in the secondary schools so that the younger people coming up will have a different attitude. Those boys who are in secondary school now, and please God, they won't, you know, finish their education, come out and start working and turn into men who will be, you know, using these women from overseas. So we have a program for the secondary schools with that one, yeah. And we need to train our doctors also to be aware. I speak to anybody can. My own GP said, and she said, I never heard of it. I didn't know that was happening. So the doctors need to, you know, they're in a prime position to, when women come to them, and there can be Irish women who unfortunately have picked up sexually transmitted diseases from their husbands who have been employed to these places.
Yes.
So they're in a position to get, you know, information which is helpful. And of course, children, talk to your, you know, your own teenage children, your boys, your girls, and, you know,
to see if anyone in their friends group has divulged anything to them. And listen, that's, you know, you've given us some tools here where we can actually make a difference here and do our bit to raise awareness. And I think that's been really very useful. Sister, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a lovely morning. Okay, so that's Sister Eilish Coe, a member of the Act to Prevent Trafficking. All right, still another hour to come on the show. We're a little late going to news. My apologies. At a minute past 11. Good morning, Emma Ryan.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. 2 teenage boys, both aged 16, have died after getting into difficulty while swimming in Lough Enna in the Temple Road area of Derry. Police received a report shortly after 6:25 yesterday evening of a number of people in difficulty in the water. One of the boys was transferred to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The body of the second was taken from the water and he was declared dead at the scene. A third teenage boy was also taken from the water and hospitalised for non-life-threatening injuries, while 3 other friends who were at the scene were treated for shock. The PSNI says it's treating it as a tragic drowning incident. Gardaí are warning of an increase in the thefts of metal and construction materials following a number of incidents in the county. On August 23rd, around 12:45 p.m, Gardaí received a report of a burglary at Carrowmaddy area in Burt, and damage was caused to the rear door, window and patio door of the property. A cylinder copper A copper cylinder, kitchen units and an immersion heater were stolen during the incident. In a separate incident in Castleshannon in Letterkenny, over €1,000 worth of armoured cable was stolen from a new build house last week between August 22nd at 5:15pm and 8am on August 23rd. Garda Sergeant Paul Wallace is warning of an increase in construction-related thefts and urged homeowners to secure their properties. Motorists have been urged to obey the pedestrian crossing at the Ora Leisure Centre. The pedestrian crossing was installed over a year ago to assist pedestrians cross the busy road. However, it's been claimed that many motorists do not obey the crossing, and speaking on today's 9 till noon show, Helena appealed for motorists to slow down and to be mindful. The Agricultural Minister believes the conclusion of public sector talks is a welcome step. Union officials described the process as difficult as they left the Workplace Relations Commission early this morning. They will now brief members on a revised offer from the government. Agricultural Minister and Donegal TD Charlie McConalogue says it's important that there is a proposal on the table after weeks of uncertainty. And finally, there's been a call for a European-wide cap on electricity prices and major reform of the EU's government electricity market required to address soaring bills. This according to Fine Gael's Colin Murphy. He said that despite only 21% of EU electricity being produced from gas, the vast majority comes from renewables whose cost base has not been changed significantly as a result of the crisis. He says at a time when homeowners and businesses face astronomical bills, emergency intervention is needed. That's the news for now. We'll be back with another update at 12 o'clock. But until then, good morning.
All right, Emma, thanks very much indeed. I pulled my own mic down. Back with more after the break.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 30th of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 35. The numbers are 64, 63, 66, 54, 46, 81, 65, 61, 84, and finally 62. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com. Monaghan Institute is currently accepting applications for courses commencing in September. If you are a Leaving Cert student wanting to progress to university or a job seeker keen to master new skills, we have excellent course options for you. Gain an internationally recognised qualification closer to home at our state-of-the-art campus in Monaghan Town, where there are excellent transport links and lower cost accommodation choices. Apply online now at monaghaninstitute.ie. Monaghan Institute. Your future starts here.
Can I get 2 specials, please? 1 sourdough and Caesar salad. And by the way, I'm 12 weeks pregnant.
Yes, Chef. We don't always know who's at risk from COVID-19 and other viruses, but we do know how to protect them. Keep hands clean and wear a mask. Let fresh air in, get vaccinated, and stay at home if you are unwell. From the HSC. For us all.
Okay, Bernard Moffat is Assistant General Secretary of the Celtic League, I presume it is. Bernard, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. Yeah, it is the Celtic League.
Nice to speak to you. Right, okay. Some conversations going on about the observation or the spotting of potentially a submarine not far off the Donegal coast. Is it likely? Is it unusual?
No, it's not unusual for that sea area there. What is unusual is how close inshore it was alleged to be. I was very sceptical when I was first approached by another media source about it, but I've since read a bit more, and apparently the people who saw it were surfers, and they would probably know what they were seeing in the sea, so it looks as if it was a submarine and it was inside the territorial sea area. But, I mean, the activities of NATO and Russian submarines has been ramping up since the tensions have increased over the Cold War. We would expect, over the new Cold War, I should say, we were expecting during the exercise, which is planned for the end of September, early October, that there'd be more activity, but it looks like they're around a bit early.
What is it? I mean, obviously, we can, to a great extent, track on-surface marine traffic or air traffic. Is there any such way to track submarines for the general public?
No, none at all. Yeah, normally a submarine, if it was travelling inside the territorial sea area, would travel on the surface. 2 Russian submarines passed through the channel a few days ago. It could be one of them, and they travelled on the surface because obviously it's a busy sea lane, but also they had to pass through a territorial sea area. So they've got right of transit in that sort of situation, and certainly outside the 12-mile limit. Under the UN law of the sea, they're allowed to transit either on the surface or beneath the surface. But they do cause a danger. There's a serious side to all this. During the Cold War in particular, there were a number of incidents, notably in Ireland, the Shiralga one, Northern Ireland, the Karen one more recently. But boats have been lost, fishermen have been drowned, and so on. And it's important that submarine and military activity, particularly exercise activity, is notified. And certainly I would hope at end September, early October, when the next NATO exercise is on off the north of Ireland and west of Scotland, there'll be notification to mariners.
I mean, by definition, I suppose, well, not by definition, but submarines are there really not to be spotted, aren't they? I mean, even NATO, who might be tracking Russian activity or vice versa, even they may not necessarily know what submarines are where at any particular given time?
Well, it's the raison d'etre to be invisible, if you like, and you won't get comment from the likes of the Ministry of Defence or the other defence agencies on them. But there is regulation covering this, and ironically it comes about because of a campaign we ran some years ago, about 40 years ago, which was picked up by the Irish government, by a TD in particular, Hugh Byrne, and the Department of the Marine, and they raised the issue at the United Nations, and from about the late 80s onwards, there was International Maritime Organization regulation governing this behaviour. Now, NATO in recent years have tended to behave responsibly. Not all the NATO countries, France in particular is a bit ambivalent. The Russians are a bit of an unknown cause, and the Americans are totally dumb on submarine activity.
Now, say, for instance, obviously there's a lot of fishing going off the Donegal coast, other coasts as well, trawlers and that type of thing. I mean, and while submarines are there to sort of mask where they are, so to speak, it's the responsibility then of the submarines to know what's happening on the surface and to avoid that. What kind of technology do they employ? How easy is it for them to make sure they don't find themselves getting caught up in fishing nets, for example?
Well, they should have sophisticated technology, but you've got to bear in mind, a lot of people don't assume this. They see films like Das Boot and all this sort of thing, that submarines are fairly small. I mean, a modern submarine, particularly a ballistic missile submarine, is the same size as a light cruiser was in World War II. You know, you're talking about 9,000 tons, and some of them are even bigger than this. And there's a massive area of sea net behind a fishing vessel, as any fisherman will tell you as well. So these, I think the governance from the IMO is they should keep 1.5 miles from fishing vessels. I mean, that's pretty tight. And often fishing vessels are snagged. Indeed, the Shiralga was snagged by a very much smaller submarine, HMS Porpoise, in the 1980s, and it was dragged under in literally a few seconds. Fortunately, the crew members there from Clogherhead in County Louth were rescued, but the sub didn't surface to assist them, by the way. That was the other thing. in that incident. And in other incidents, like the Karen one, it didn't surface, and the MOD never owned up to it for several months. And in the case of the Antares, sadly, the fishing vessel which was sunk on the Clyde, the sub only surfaced after 2 hours when they knew there'd been a tragedy. So it is a big danger to fishermen in particular, submerged submarines. And I know there's people take this sort of lightheartedly when they read an article about mystery submarines and so on. Some countries don't take it that lightheartedly. Certainly the Swedish Navy, for example, have depth-charged suspected submarines in their territorial
kind of
sea
warning
area.
depth charges. In other words, say, we know you're here, get out, without it being sort of like a direct confrontation?
Yeah, well, quite, because the last thing you would want to do is damage, particularly a nuclear submarine.
But
Sadly,
they'd want that. They
latest-
would want that explosion to be felt on their equipment, so there'd be a message sent effectively.
Going back to what you said before, Greg, about the span, the danger span of this, it's also not realised that the submarines, for communications purposes, sometimes have a towed array behind them, which can trail out for several hundred yards. Indeed, some of that material that came off a submarine a few years ago was eventually recovered on the Irish coast and returned to, I think it was the United States Navy. So there's a lot of complexity around this. And if this submarine has been openly on the surface inside the Irish territorial sea area, I would think it's given pause for thought down at the Department of Defence in Dublin, or it should be, that they would be so brazen as to do that. It's a bit unfortunate these chaps didn't get a photograph of it, but I suppose if you're out surfing,
why might
you're not taking pics.
Why might they surface, for half an hour or something? I mean, it's not like to, and I'm not being facetious, it's not to take in the views or what. I mean, it would not be something they'd want to do, presumably. So what might force them to have to surface like that, I wonder?
Generally, it's communications. The one big problem still for submarines is secure communications. And certainly in the case of HMS Porpoise, which sank the Shiralga, the County Louth boat I mentioned many years ago, the reason that they had showed themselves, and indeed we were able to get a photograph of them about 12 hours before the sinking, was because they'd had communications difficulties and they had to surface close inshore. The other scenario, and I am being facetious, is it's a bit like that Alan Arkin film. The Russians are coming and they wanted to see the beautiful Donegal coast.
Yeah, maybe. It could just be a recce. How many would you say sort of submarines might be off the Donegal coast? Could there be one or two at any given time? Is it a rare enough situation, I wonder?
Well, for a NATO exercise, and certainly I think there's one from 1st of October till about the 14th or 15th, there'll be a number of submarines from both NATO countries, including the United States, but that'll attract a significant presence from Russia as well. And I believe I saw a report somewhere that surface-based Soviet or Russian, they call them now, auxiliaries are back in the area off the west of Scotland and north of Ireland. So they generally work with submarines. What they're doing is they're monitoring traffic in and out of the Clyde complex. It was very much more important during the Cold War because, of course, there was an American base there as well, Polaris base, and indeed, there might be moves to revive that. But there'll be a lot of activity, certainly from the end of September, including surface vessels and submarine activity.
Because
and
I presume at any given time too, Bernard, there is always some level of positioning of your resources strategically. I mean, we might think, something is never going to happen, but I presume sort of the military and intelligence of countries are always posturing or positioning in one way or other. Things don't happen necessarily by accident or for no reason. I imagine all that kind of stuff is ongoing, all the time.
Well, yeah, and it's not just black and white, if you like, the Russians and NATO. Often there's competition between the NATO countries. I mean, the last major incident in the Western Atlantic involving 2 ballistic missile submarines was between a French and Royal Navy submarine that were playing cat and mouse with each other. So, yeah, you're quite right. They're all jockeying for position, and I would imagine Donegal fishermen and fishermen from the 6 counties as well need to be very wary, certainly at the back end of this next month and into October, because there'll be a lot of activity off the west of Scotland, including, incidentally, and this is to go off on a tangent a bit, they're going to sink some warship off the west of Scotland. So, we're inquiring into possible pollution from that at the moment. So let's hope it's not coming your way.
And very finally, we hear of, strange situations where whales randomly find themselves washed ashore or up an inlet they shouldn't normally be. I imagine, given the way these animals communicate with each other and how submarines attempt to communicate, we can't say these instances aren't linked.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great environmental tragedy. It's done immense damage, this cat and mouse undersea war with marine mammals in particular, and there's lots of incidents documented now of strandings and vessels being in an area where subsequently pilot whales, other groups have become disorientated and unfortunately have been lost to nature. So it's a tragedy, the whole business, and the fact that after the end of the Cold War it's now ramping up again is a real worry. But I suppose these are just things that will have to be tolerated. But as I say, the main threat to humans is to the fishing community, and certainly to fishermen who work the waters off the west of Scotland and west and north of Ireland.
All right, Bernard, Celtic League military monitoring. There's loads of questions that I still have as it relates to sort of generally what you've been monitoring and what you see, but maybe we'll revisit that another time. Thanks for all of your time this morning.
Well, thank you. Bye.
Take care of yourself. Okay, so lots of people listening to this programme maybe are out at sea at the moment or would be regularly out of sea. Have you spotted any submarines? Did you happen to take a picture? Send them in to us. Not recently, any time at all. Talk to us a little about that. God knows we've enough eyes from this county out on the water. You're bound to have seen something over the years. Let us know. 08660 25,000.
There's a gaggle of monsters you'll see around town, in every colour from bright pink to brown. And just like us, they have hopes, dreams and wishes. A new car, new windows, a holiday diving with fishes. They know just where to go for their dreams to come true. The local credit union who can help you out too. For all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For all your health and beauty needs and so much more. Call 91-21409 or visit mcgees.ie.
A fundraising dance in memory of Mary McCann will take place Friday 2nd of September in the Halfway House Burnfoot with music by Jimmy Buckley, dance support act Sister Act. Spot prizes on the night, doors open 9:30, tickets €15 pay at the door, with proceeds to the Donegal Hospice.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Good morning, Greg. Says this caller, Ukrainians are coming from all over the world to Ireland and they're getting €350 a week. An investigation needs to be had. Investigate what? I mean, that is what's happening. I'm not sure of the figure, but they are fleeing a war, and we have decided that we're going to take in people that are fleeing that war and support them. That's what's happening. But also, a caller wants to know about Russian refugees. Why don't they get the same benefits? I'm not sure how many Russian refugees are knocking on the door to come in. They're actually meeting today to discuss whether or not to ban people from Russia, from holidaying in the EU. That's a conversation that's being happened today. I think also too and an awful lot of this was said during the COVID crisis, and rightly so, that we need to think for ourselves. There are plenty of people out there who are following playbooks from the United States and Britain and elsewhere, who are trying to scare the living daylights out of people as if there's a crew of people coming over to destroy the country or whatever it might be. And I understand people have their concerns, but now, as much as ever, it is time that we all think for ourselves and look at the facts and see how things affect us or affect our lives or affect our communities, and formulate our own opinions for our own reasons rather than being scared. No more so than I pointed out at the front of the Irish Independent, trying to scare people into sort of reading articles. It happens. And it happens from all quarters that people try and scare people to think like they think, and there's always often a reason behind it. So it's just a case that we always, as much as we can, think for ourselves and formulate our own opinions, and if there's a threat, how realistic is it, what's the consequences, and so on and so forth. Greg, I was trying with great difficulty to cross the street in Ballybofey one day. A man said to me, there is a zebra crossing up there. I don't know, is there more to that story? There are a number of them. Some of them are just crossings, casual crossings, but they're black and white. Others are actual traffic lighted crossings. I'm not sure which he was directing you towards. Once a pedestrian places 1 foot on the pedestrian crossing, they have a right of way and motorists must stop. Standing at the crossing is not enough. But personally for me, if a car's coming out of Letterkenny up towards the Ora Leisure Centre at 80 kilometres per hour, I'm not going to play chicken with the car and stick my foot out and say, right, you're supposed to stop. I don't know how that works, You just stick a foot out and expect a speeding car to slam on the brakes, and there's probably 2 more cars up behind it. I don't know. Right, Councillor Lillian Blaney is Cahirlock of Donegal County Council and also a rep for the Milford area. Good morning, Liam. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. Some people are complaining of a foul smell in parts of Milford. What have you been hearing? Maybe you've witnessed it yourself.
Oh, it's not just some people, Greg, and I don't blame them one bit. It's disgusting what's going on down there in Milford. And the stench is disgusting on it this last long number of months. And it's ongoing over years, but came and went at times, but this last number of months, since the way back before the summer came at all, it's been terrible.
Do we know where the smell's coming from, Liam?
It's coming from the treatment plant, for the sewage treatment plant there in Milford. And look, the problem with it is it's not fit for capacity. It's not fit for what's coming to treat for what's coming into it. I think that seems to be the problem with it. And Irish Water is telling us that we're going to build a new plant that's going to take all the sewage from Milford, Melton, and Rathmullen, and we hope to have an operation by 2026.
Well, we'll see about that.
We all know when they say they hope to have an operation in 2026, you have another 4 or 5 years onto it. And you couldn't ask the people in Milford to wait another day, never mind another 7 or 8 years. You couldn't ask anybody. And even to drive through the town, and this is not having to live in the town, even to just drive through it, that's disgusting. And the men that's working on the plant there, and it's not their fault, they're doing all they can and have done great work all down the years. But, they have to work in them conditions. The people working beside it, living beside it. You have the health centre, you have the Garda barracks, you have the county council offices, you have a whole lot of residents there. And because I think it may be a wee bit worse these days because of the very, 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 very mild weather, and there's no breeze. If you had a bit of a breeze or wind, it would blow in one direction or another. But unfortunately, the direction of the wind's blowing in, that's the people that gets it in. And but inundated with phone calls this last couple of weeks.
So you've made representations. Irish Water is saying, look, we hope to have a new system operating by 2026. You would just hope that, people aren't being made to tolerate this to try and, strengthen up the argument for this development to go ahead as is planned. I'm sure nothing underhand would ever happen like that. But are they saying there's simply nothing that can be done between even now and the weekend to mitigate? As you said quite rightly, we can't expect people to have to live with this for however long it might take for a new plant to be established.
No, and I don't know if anything can be done there other than spend money on it and increase the capacity that's there, because it's not fit for purpose. And look, there's an influx supposedly of other people coming to the town, as well as ones that already has landed there from other countries. And it's going to increase the capacity by 20 to 30%. I would say the schools has come back now again. The national school, the tech, and the convent in Milford, they're all come back in again. And I do not know what way it's going to end up.
It wouldn't be hard to see a trend, because, in the summer when maybe the population is somewhat greater, is the problem worse compared to the winter? Now with the Milford population growing substantially, because it's from a relatively small base and a wider scale, so people being moved into the area, it is a significant population growth. And as you mentioned, schools going back and what have you, it's not hard to track if things are going to get worse perhaps before they get better. This is the type of, the infrastructure is going to have to catch up with the population growth quicker than the timeline Irish Water have down at the moment.
Definitely, without a doubt. And look, I've been on about this for a number of years now. And it's unfortunate that I have to go to yourselves to see if you can help us along the way. But I'm being accused of Milford not being represented, politically not being represented. And I'm doing all I can. We have no role with Irish Water, but we do have a direct line to us, but we can't get nowhere with it. And I just want to let the people of Milford know that we're doing what we can for you. So unfortunately, that's not enough, but there's nothing more I can do about it. And I've encouraged them to make a phone call to Irish Water every day, daily. If there's a spell in Milford, 1800-278-278. Unless they keep receiving and get inundated with calls, I don't see anything being done in the near future with us.
And that is really important. And someone might come up with the idea of getting a petition and getting getting 300 names. That would be classed as one contact with Irish Water. Anyone in Milford that doesn't like this smell individually, you have to get onto Irish Water, because then when we contact them and we say, have there been any complaints? What if they have hundreds of complaints? It can't be ignored. What's that number again, Liam?
1800-278-278.
Okay, so we're going to do our bit. We'll make our representations. But if you're in the Milford area and you're affected by this, bombard that number with your complaint. And as I say, the more people that do, then it can't be ignored. Because otherwise, it's one representation from us, one representation maybe of a petition that's been signed, and 2 or 3 representations from local councillors. That's not enough for them to be embarrassed into doing something. And unfortunately, we're going to have to, in some sort of an organised way, do that. We're going to have to contact them in big numbers and embarrass them into doing something, so it can't be ignored, because they might get 100 complaints today across the country. Why not get 350 complaints today from Milford?
Exactly. I would encourage that without a doubt.
All right.
Because unless we do that, we're definitely not going to get anything. Whatever chance we might have with going that route. And as you say, a petition is just classified as one, because it's seen as a person going out encouraging people to sign their name to something, and that's therefore it's only classified as one contact.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would encourage everybody to make that phone call, because unfortunately we have to do something like this. But
and you're not the first councillor that's expressed frustration in the dealings with Irish Water. They can be very, even though it is, much of the work is carried out by council staff, it is Irish Water that call the shots, and they can be hard to pin down on an issue. Right, okay, well, we'll make our representations. People in Milford, if you don't like this smell, contact that telephone number and log a complaint. Don't use any sort of templates. Formulate what you have a problem with, get in contact with them, and let's get 100 into them, 200 into them today. We'll make our representations. I'm sure you, Councillor Blaney, as Cahirlock, are doing what you can, and let's see if we can embarrass them into something that they simply can't ignore.
Good on you, Greg.
All right, Liam, thanks very much indeed. Councillor Liam Blaney there. It'll only take a wee second. Register your complaint and say, I'm living in Milford. and this smell is no longer tolerable. I'm living in Milford. I can't hang clothes out in the line because they come in stinking. I'm living in Milford. I don't want my children playing out the front because of this toxic smell. I'm living in Milford. We can't even open the windows in our house. What's going on, Irish Water? Enough is enough. This is the way we do things. This is not the way we do things. This is obviously a strategy that's going to have to be tried, because what's going on now is not working, and many people in Milford are affected by this. And I'm familiar with the story, but I wanted to hear it in Councillor Blaney's own words, which we did. Okay, and we can affect change. We really, really can. And as we continue to do as a radio programme on your behalf, we will make representations to see what they have to say.
Top up your phone with unlimited data for just €15 at Tesco Mobile, which is the same price as 60 Ultra Fish Oil capsules. I thought that comparison would be helpful, but now I realise it's not. Sorry about that. But I'm not sorry about the deal. Unlimited data for just €15 is helpful. This is Supermarket Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
T's and C's apply. Unlimited data is subject to a fair usage policy. See tescomobile.ie/terms/prepaid data plus for plan details and service information.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €110 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Is your car due a service? We offer pickups and drop-offs from your home or work. We even offer courtesy cars, making your car service a hassle-free experience. Call today or visit imotors.ie to book in.
Donegal Local Development Company is hosting a showcase event called Celebrating Donegal Business in the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny on Saturday the 10th of September from 12 noon to 4 p.m. This event is free to attend and features the very best in local businesses. Find your perfect tradesman, beauty product, gift idea, outdoor adventure and much more, all in the one place. Come along and support your local businesses on a day that's guaranteed to be fun for all. There's lots of spot prizes and face painting for the kids. Make Celebrating Donegal Business your business this September the 10th. For more information, visit dldc.org.
Okay, we'll play that for my granddaughter, Holly Gardner in Ramelton. She's 10 today, and also a big hello to her sisters, Connie and Aoife, and hello to their mum and dad from Granny and Grandpa in Glasgow. All right, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show. We have another 22 minutes to go on the programme. Liam O'Brien is a fisherman, joins us on the show again. Good morning, Liam. How are you keeping? Liam, are you there? Okay, we'll have to reconnect Liam. We'll come back to that. We're talking about that fish kill in the Carndonna area, isn't it? It is. Simply don't tune into RTE coverage of the Eurovision is how someone might protest Donna being excluded from that event. A caller says, I wouldn't totally agree that U2 is struggling, but maybe if you play one of their less-selling records, you might keep them off the breadline. Personally, I prefer to hear singers like Thomas Maguire and Fiona Ennis from Enniskillen being played more in local radio. Margie's in Lincoln Park is my choice, thank you. I was just giving examples. Obviously, U2 aren't struggling, but I don't want to be classist or selective either. I'm just saying that we, from now on, will play Irish music on this programme. Across Highland Radio, we play a ton of Irish music, by the way, and even last night listening to Monday Night Session. It's an amazing platform, but it's not just specific programming. Listen to John Breslin, he's a great supporter of Irish music. David James, I think the majority of his music is Irishly Gooch in the morning as well, and so on it goes. Our evening shows focusing specifically on certain genres of Irish music. You know, there's a lot of coverage here at Island Radio. We're pretty proud of that. I'm just saying maybe we and this program can do our bit as well. But thank you for your suggestion. It's noted, and we'll get to that. Hi, Greg. Luke Kelly, the Love Visiting song that comes in from Danny. Thank you, Danny. You're on the list. Can you please remind motorists to indicate? It's driving everyone else crazy. It's very unsafe. I agree. I think roundabouts are one of the greatest inventions. But they work really well. If you go in the right lane, it's astonishing the amount of people don't go into the right lane. Or if you don't indicate, it slows the whole process up. They work great, particularly good if you're in the right lane and if you use your indicators when necessary. Around 25,000 cyclists are insured through Cycling Ireland, and as for taxing cyclists, why not tax pedestrians too? They're also road users. What would it achieve? We need to encourage active travel. It's just a conversational point, probably. What would it achieve? I don't know. It's great that cyclists are insured, but how do you identify one cyclist from the next? If, say, for instance, you know, if I'm driving dangerously, someone can notify the Guardian and say, you want to see that... you want to see the way that fella's driving or whatever it is. And then you say, well, who is he? Well, this is some bold fella. What's his number plate? That's his number plate. And then that's how I'm identified. Would that be useful? I don't know. Greg, why don't the council get a marina started out at the Port Bridge and, Greg, that river, and have boats leaving the port and stopping at Ramelton and Rathmullen and then to Buncrana? Letterkenny needs a marina for tourists in the summer months, a swimming pool in Letterkenny. We need a marina that would make a big difference. That comes in from Michael in Letterkenny. Anyone share Michael's dream of a marina for Letterkenny? 086 60 25,000. Rightio. Now Liam is back on with us. We're speaking in the context of an investigation which has been launched into a massive fish kill in the Glenagannon River at Inishowen. The incident was declared on Friday after thousands of dead fish were sighted in the water. They've been gathered up to a great extent. A picture of them on tarpaulin on the front of the papers today. Horrible to see. Liam, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
All right, what's likely to have caused a fish kill on this scale from your experience?
Well, my experience before with this is more slurry seeping in or being washed in, and it had to be a large volume of stuff for that amount of fish to be killed. It had to be a large volume of stuff, and it's gone into the system. What it does is takes the oxygen out of the air, it goes into the gills of the fish, small as the fish, they just go belly up.
They drowned effectively in the water, don't they?
Yeah, they basically drown. That's what happens. They starve for oxygen in the water with all the nitrates and all the pollution. The water nearly goes green with it. You'll see it in the water. Because I had the experience looking after my own uncle's cattle way back when he was away on holidays, and I've seen it in his land where I was checking on his cattle and looked into the stream where the whole water was all green algae,
and look into the side of the wee lulls of the current. All the fish were thrown up on the side, young juvenile fry of salmon and that there, lying up along the thing. And that was only the sector of my uncle's land, but the streams would run from a fair distance, because everything goes, it comes one way, even through land, a whole lot. It all ends up in the sea, it ends up in the rivers from tributary streams.
Liam, do you think this could possibly be natural? You know, people might say, well, it hasn't rained much, maybe water levels are low, maybe that's triggered some sort of an algae bloom or something along those lines. Is there any natural explanation for this in your view?
Yes, there is a lack of rain, and that would anything would go in, and any contaminants would go into a river now. There wouldn't be enough dilution there, because the current would be slow. The rivers are very low throughout the country at the moment, and if you go into deeper water, the water sort of stagnates the current. So it would settle and it would accumulate slower. Where you have a fast flowing river, it would likely dilute quicker. But for that there had to be a large volume of a spill someplace.
So you'd be convinced there has to be a man-made element to this.
There's a man-made element to this, and you do have a lot of agriculture and that going on. There's no chemical plants. We know there has been spillage out of chemical plants before up in the Tyrone area and that there, where it's killed large species of fish. Like, as a fisherman, like, we were suppressed out of our fishery to protect to close down for salmon stocks, but
use with the eyes and ears, though. Use with the eyes and ears. Use with the custodians of our rivers, because you saw what's going on.
And the anglers there now, the anglers now would be sort of the custodians where they're up in fresh water. Everything has to go to breed someplace and has to be protected to breed. Like, if we're asked to go to fish, we're asked to put on certain sizes of net size to allow the juvenile fish out to juvenate. And same with rivers. The specimen of fish have to go into enter rivers to juvenate and breed. But
there's an amazing thing that happens in nature, in that, you know, the fish will return to spawning grounds. And I think a lot of these were sea trout and salmon. Some of them were brown trout. I don't know, maybe they live their lives in the river. But what does this mean for the future of a river when there's a fish kill on this scale? Is a chain broken?
Well, it depends how far up the system it is, how far up the system it happened. I do know people in the River Trust there they're doing a Trojan job. Like, it takes the feed and all out at them, the wee micros things at them wee fish. Then wee fish will nearly go up out off the main rivers up on the stream. It takes their food. It will kill their food and all. The wee migrants or they're like wee bugs. They'd feed on them, and it could kill all them. It depends how far up the system it was. Maybe above the system. But if the pollution, they likely have to do salt tests and gravel now to see as the spill went into the salt and all, and how the river's cleaning. But they would merely find the source from the first of the fish coming downstream. They would nearly track it to the area, roughly to the area where it's come out. They'll likely do toxin tests and all that there, and see if it's coming out of a stream coming into a river. Because I'm not saying that it's like there's no chemical factors or anything like that, and that's just with the weather we're having and no rain, it just added to the effect that there was if it's a flood water and there's plenty of rain, I think they would have washed away. It would have went quick through the system. But while the tide, and as you've seen maybe on the news last night, the Glenaganon River is a very narrow river. It's not a big wide river, so the dilution of it, the diluting of it, would be slower.
Of course.
And it would have caused effect.
And you know what? If we'd had 2 or 3 days of torrential rain, we probably wouldn't even have. This probably wouldn't even have had the impact it has. Liam, thanks for.
Steve, you look, Greg, another thing. Like, we can't blame. We're as much to blame ourselves. Like, if you look at a chemical chef and look at for cleaners and supermarkets and all the rest now, what we had years ago. There's more toxins going into the water now from chemicals on supermarket shelves and all the rest. It all goes to the one system. It all goes to the water.
All right, and it all finds its way.
And a lot of areas. And you hear on the other day bad smells and one thing and all great and thing, but sure, we get the end product of it. We get the end product of it. Like, we see a lot of this. We even see our boats there where we're anti-fouling now to keep the growth off the bottom, the seaweed off the bottom, and we see where we're in stagnated water this time of year, where river running to the harbour, because the nitrogen's on the ground, the slurry's on the ground, it's coming down, it's not getting away quick enough, and we see harbours then where there's no rivers, and maybe doing the bottoms of the boats, there's no growth on them, because it's coming, the current's not getting away, it's building up, and what happens? It defeats the purpose of the anti-fouling.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
and that's time of year. It's all these, the rain. You do need the rain to take it away and dilute it better.
Okay,
that's not happening. But
Liam,
we can't know. We're an investigation on it, so we can't really. You can't even say sure, let the people that's in charge know of it and let them work on it. But it's sad to see, like it's.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. It really is. Liam, listen,
you have to respect it, and that's the whole thing about tippers and plastic, even around and fishing here. Like, taking the stuff ashore, it's not hard to do.
Okay, you're right,
if
Liam.
You go along the fall there, you see that there's the amount of junk that's along the shores and captured along inlets and that there, with bags and all the rest. And I'm not blaming our fishermen. It's bad. Some of them are as bad. At the end of the day, we use it. We get the use of it.
Yes.
Respect it.
Indeed. Liam O'Brien, thanks for your time, as always. I really appreciate it. Right, okay, let's go to Sinead, Assistant Manager of the Finn Valley Centre. Good morning to you, Sinead.
Good morning, Greg, how are you?
Not too bad. Right, you took to social media to highlight an issue, and it must have been pretty bad to go to those lengths. So tell us what's happening.
Well, we're huge advocates for people with disabilities here at Finn Valley Leisure Centre. We are trying to encourage people with disabilities and their carers and families to use the centre more for their own quality of life. But we've an ongoing battle with able-bodied people parking in the disability parking bays at the centre. We did advertise last year on social media for people to not park in the bays unless you sincerely have a blue badge displayed. And
the person to whom the blue badge is associated with is in the vehicle.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like even yesterday, now we kind of were at the end of our tether. We just have a strong opinion that people should not be parking in the disability parking bays when they don't need to, whether it's to drop off for lessons, for rugby, football, whatever it may be. Don't park there. There's a lot of parking spots down in the main parking area. But yesterday, for example, we had a person parked there. We asked them to move, and she said, "I have a blue badge." And then I questioned, was the person whom the blue badge is referred to, is that person with you? And she said no, then ignored me and walked on. I said, "I want you to move now, you need to move." And it was a huge issue, and it was actually embarrassing. And
you
I
don't want that
explained to her,
confrontation,
listen,
Sinead.
No, you don't.
You know,
and it's not fair on our
you
staff.
didn't go into work to sort of have to say, right, enough is enough, we're going to challenge some people. You don't want to have to square up to them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
She's walking off anyway. Then what happened, Sinead?
And then we did request, the supervisor and myself did request her to return to the vehicle before she went any further, that we did want it moved. And unfortunately, we had to explain to her that we have a lot of people with disabilities using the centre. And just 20 minutes after that, one of our swimmers who has cerebral palsy and a wheelchair user did pull up on the vehicle, and at that stage we had to print up more signs to say not to park in that parking bay. And she came in and she's like, "Is it okay if I park here?" So I explained to her, yes, it's for the likes of you and your son. So, like that's an example.
God, the
like,
irony
why
of that
have
is,
waited?
for someone who is able-bodied, you're having to ask them 2 or 3 times to move, and then for someone that space is provided for, they're politely asking if they can use it. It's
exactly.
And all in the one day. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, all within the half hour, And listen, Greg, it's an ongoing issue. It really is. There's another 3 parking bays down at in the main car park as well, and there's oftentimes that one vehicle would park right across the 3 of them. So the person with a disability would have no access to any of the three of them parking bays. And people genuinely think it's okay because they're only going to park there for 1 minute, you know, and like it's not fair. Like we have people travelling from Letterkenny, from Ballyshannon, from Donegal, from Glancy's. We have people travelling here because of the facility that we offer, and you know it's not fair that we have to actually go out and argue our point.
Exactly, and I tell you what's interesting about it is obviously you and the staff at the Finn Valley Centre have gone out of your way to make it a very inclusive centre, and I think you're really lucky in that you have lots of people with a disability that choose to use the Finn Valley Centre, and I think that's a testimony to what you're doing to make it such a welcoming place. That's a place for everyone. And then the parking, the one thing that maybe it's a little bit harder to control, that's where the issue is, which is somewhat out of your control other than making appeals like this and asking people to move. It's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a shame because it's such a challenge. Like if we do ask people, they never once did any person turn around to me and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'll move now." It's actually ended up a challenge, and I just think it's disgraceful. Like we have to respect everybody, we have to respect each other, and we more so have to respect people with disabilities because they have so many challenges in life in general without having to deal with these situations of ignorance, and that's all it is, you know.
Okay, well again, it comes down to putting ourselves in the position of a parent dropping a young person off with a disability or anyone with a disability trying to pull in there. We need to start thinking what it might be like to be somebody else and what it would feel like if then we were to try and use one of these spaces and an able-bodied person was using it because they're a little late or they're running late or there'll only be a minute. I'm only nipping in and out, you know. Okay, Sinead, listen, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Greg, appreciate it now, and hopefully the message will drive it home for a lot of people in general, no matter where they're parking. Just stay away from disability bays. We're well able to park elsewhere and walk to our destination. So it would be brilliant if people would actually start using their brains really more so than anything. People are lucky to be able
to do that, and that is a luxury that can be taken from us at any time, be it through injury or whatever. Okay, thanks, Sinead. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Have
Hello
a great
to everyone there at the Finn Valley Centre.
Nutrius Lamb Feed offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Intensive Lamb or Nutrius Lamb Creep Crunch, get one free. Contains intake booster for higher intakes, better thrive and faster finish. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product detail.
Suffering from hearing loss? Kingsbridge Hearing Care has arrived in the Northwest. Yes, we have a brand new clinic location at Kingsbridge Private Hospital in Ballykelly and can offer you a full range of hearing care provision, including enhanced hearing assessments and earwax removal treatment. So, what are you waiting for? Don't let hearing loss hold you back. Get in touch with our expert audiology team today. Call us on 048 9066 7030 or visit kingsbridgehearingcare.co.uk.
Hi, Brendan Gleeson here. Join me in celebrating 30 years of Bewley's Big Coffee Morning Social for Hospice on Thursday the 22nd of September by hosting a coffee morning for your local hospice. To register, please call 0818 995 996 or visit hospicecoffeemorning.ie. Thank you for supporting 30 years of Coffee Morning.
Build a better future with a digital transformation course. With digital transformation courses from Advanced Centre, you can improve the way we work together and do business. The power behind 3 of Ireland's leading universities, UCD, ATU Sligo and TU Dublin, have combined to offer flexible, accredited digital transformation courses, from individual modules to full programmes. Starting in September, your future is enrolling now. See advancedcentre.ie.
It's Aldi's best value back to school event ever with up to 65% off fresh fruit and veg offers. Fun-sized bananas was $1.49, now 69 cents. Clementines was $1.99, now 69 cents. Pin Kids apples was $1.99, now 99 cents. Red grapes was $1.99, now 99 cents. Closed cup mushrooms was 99 cents, now 49 cents. And microwavable baby potatoes was 89 cents, now 49 cents. Aldi have savings after savings after savings. Just saying.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
A caller says, Greg, the war is confined to one area. When the troubles were ongoing, Ireland had to keep going. Well, it didn't. Many people fled Northern Ireland for the safety of their children, or indeed in some cases to avoid people being conscripted into the army. The war is currently in Ukraine, focused in the east and south. At any point, and there is intelligence suggests that it's not impossible that it might happen, Vladimir Putin could instruct a strike or tactical nuclear strike anywhere. I can assure you right now, he is not finished with Kyiv, and the more bloodied his nose becomes, the more far-reaching his assault will be, because they can't continue to hemorrhage and lose soldiers like they are. So they'll try and make an impact in other ways. And how do they do that? How they did at the beginning, bombing wherever they see fit, because they can easily target anywhere. We're getting a bit sort of maybe not relaxed about what's going on there, but an escalation could happen at any stage, and perhaps it's even likely that it might. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the 9 till noon show for this Tuesday morning. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, so hopefully you'll be able to rejoin us then. But don't go anywhere. A full day of great programming for you. Next up, it's John Bresson and Around the Northwest. But at 12 noon, let us get a news update, and we'll